Miss that?
Is it? It is not. Don't say that. Are you?
I am.
I don't blame
When I
you.
walk in there, Keith is going to have a
He's gonna have his thing, but we're here.
It's been over a year. It's long enough.
It's too
We
much.
need to get somebody
We don't need another extension.
just because they're lazy.
I know it. You're right.
You see us talking about you. I'm talking about you. You're the one who brought up the sidewalk. You're the one who couldn't get on this one. Come on.
No, you didn't.
Joe, my question is more like, can we limit the number of kids that we consider?
Well, the number of appeals is somewhat limited by statute. The problem, and this isn't just, a lot of courts have this situation. It's hard for a judge to tell some poor old grandma with a broken down house, I'm going to give you another 60 days, another 60 days. And then you tell some other guy, screw it, it's got to be fixed in 30 days, I'm going to answer that. That's a large part of the problem.
And discretion comes in this.
We'll call to order the City of Douglasville City Council regular meeting for tonight, which is June the 7th. Our invocation will be done by Pastor Andrew Dickerson, Associate Pastor of First Presbyterian Church of Douglasville. After that, we'll have our Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by the Mayor Pro Tem, Councilmember Terry Miller. Please stand for the invocation.
As you feel able, please join me in prayer. Gracious God, we thank you for the gift of this day, for health and strength to apply ourselves to constructive, productive work. We pray for this evening's proceedings. We thank you for Mayor Robinson and for the city councillors who serve with her. We thank you for their willingness to serve and for their dedication and their labours on behalf of the community of the city of Douglasville. We pray that you would guide them and help them in the work that they do for our city. We remember the different departments that serve our community in areas like economic development and court services, parks and recreation, police and public services, and all who work within the city limits in fields like education and healthcare. We remember our business community and our faith-based communities, the rich diversity of individuals and groups that together make up our city. Help us recognize and value the role we play in making Douglasville a great place to live, learn, and work. We recognize we can learn from each other. Where opinions differ, help us to seek to listen and understand. And while disagreements may persist, help us to continue to work for the well-being of our whole community in as much as we are able. And finally, we ask that you renew us with your presence and empower us with your goodness, that we may know the joy of helping to build a community that is worthy of the human person. We ask this in your holy name, confident of your goodness and love. Amen. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, and thank you so much, Pastor Dickerson. And I thank Abby. I appreciate you all being here this evening. Good to see you. I will go over the announcements and presentations so that we'll all be on the same page this evening with protocol, and then we'll get into our meeting, which is posted on the screen, or there should be paper agendas out there as well. I'd like to welcome you to the City of Douglasville's City Council meeting. My name is Rochelle Robinson. I'm Mayor of the City of Douglasville. Tonight is a regular meeting of agenda items where official action will be taken from the items that were discussed last Thursday at our legislative work session. If the business you're here for is not listed as an agenda item, there will be ample time under the item comments from citizens and delegates section for you to discuss your business. Just a few protocol issues I'd like to go over, and then we can start the meeting. I ask that you will listen closely so there'll be no misunderstandings about how tonight's meeting will be conducted. I ask that you would please keep your comments and presentations on a professional level, dealing with the facts that are important for this governing body to make our decisions. We will not accept comments that are considered by the chair to be of a personal attack on any individual or group of individuals. You'll receive a warning from the chair. If you deviate from this warning, a second deviation will result in you discontinuing to speak this evening. Only one person speaking at a time. Please do not applaud or react to the speakers or speak to the audience, cheer or carry on conversations or be disruptive so that we can hear exactly what you're trying to bring to our attention. I'll remind you that we're only required to accept public comments on zoning matters, but we are excited to hear if you have anything that you would like to bring to our attention at the end of the meeting during comments from citizens and delegates. If you have a cell phone or any social media devices, please put those in silent mode or turn those off until after the meeting so that it will not be disruptive. Now, this is how the agenda items will be handled. The committee chairperson will read the agenda item, then that person representing that agenda item or applicant will make his or her presentations. We ask that you would please give us your name and address for the record, and we will be happy to hear from you. Then myself and council members will possibly ask for clarifying questions to help us make our decision. This is a voting meeting, so it'll go a little bit differently than it went last week. After that, the committee chairperson will ask for comments or statements from the audience. Now, there is a maximum of 20 minutes for those in support of the item and 20 minutes for those in opposition, and each person has 5 minutes to bring your information to our attention. When you approach the podium again, give us your name and address for the record. There should be cards that are posted outside that you should fill out and give those to the city clerk, assistant city clerk, and we'll be happy to, Ms. Candace Jackson, we'll be happy to hear from you and have your information down. Each person has one opportunity to speak. This is not a question and answer or a debate format. We're just here to have your information and take that into consideration to make our decisions. Please address your comments to the chair. And if you have any printed material, please give that printed material to our Assistant City Clerk. And I believe that's all. We do not have any other presentations, so I will go on with the meeting as it is presented, the agenda. The first thing on the agenda for item number 5 are the minutes of the legislative work session and executive session of May 13th, 2021, and the regular meeting and executive session of May 17th, 2021, and the special meeting and executive session of May 24th, 2021. Open the floor for a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. We have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second. Thank
you so much, Councilman Estes. It's been properly moved in second to approve the minutes as presented. Do we see any corrections or comments as it relates to the minutes from the council members?
Madam Mayor, I can't pull the minutes up.
You can't pull them up? Ms. Candace,
But anyway,
you have a paper copy? You do not? I'll give you mine. The minutes aren't on there.
I'm just talking about the attachment stuff there.
Ms. Candace, you have them on you're looking for them? Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for that, Coach Watts. So, but it has been properly moved in second, and the comment that we don't have them loaded. City
They're not
Manager.
attached to iCompass, but you all did receive them via email.
Okay. Thank you for that comment. All those in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Nay.
We have one nay.
No.
Oh, you approve them, Councilman Davis? Okay. The minutes are, all those opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. The minutes are unanimously approved. We'll move on then to the consent agenda number 6. Open the floor for a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Thank you so much, Councilman Estes. We have a motion to approve. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Thank you so much, Councilman Adams. It's been properly moved in second to approve the consent agenda as presented. Do we have any questions or comments as relates to the consent agenda? Any more deliberation or concerns? I don't see any further discussion. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The consent agenda is unanimously approved. We'll move on then to committees. Economic Development Committee, that's chaired by Councilmember Mayor Pro Tem Terry Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business at this time under the Economic Development Committee.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. We'll move on then to item number 8, which is Finance Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Mark Adams.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We
You're
have 3
welcome.
items tonight under Finance. Item A, adopt an ordinance to amend the City of Douglasville's fiscal year 2020-21 general fund budget. Mr. Shane Byrd, I believe, presented this on Thursday. I was not in the meeting, but I've not had any report of any question or comment. Is there any additional information, Ms. Callan, that we would need to be given concerning that? Any question or comment that council or Madam Mayor may have concerning the item?
No, sir, he did a very good job on last Thursday.
Okay. And seeing none, then I'll make a motion that we approve item 21-216.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. I have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you so much, Councilman Estes. It's been properly moved in second to approve item 21-273. Do any questions or comments as it relates to this item?
Madam Mayor, that shows to be 21-216 on my, you said 273.
Okay, let me see.
But
It's
it is
different on
item
here.
A under Finance.
Okay, it's different on here. Okay, item 21-269. Addition, no?
216.
216.
216.
Okay, I see it now. 21-216. I guess
Yes,
the
ma'am.
iCompass is getting us confused tonight. Okay. Do we have any, excuse me, additional questions or comments as it relates to this item? All those in favor of approving, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. 21-216 is unanimously approved.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We'll go on to item B, authorize the mayor to sign Amendment 1 to the city's standard agreement between owner and architect dated March 7th, 2020, with Goodwin, Mills, and Kaywood Incorporated, GMC, for professional design services for the city's Jesse Davis Park Improvements Project. Mr. Thompson presented that on Thursday. I've not had any questions or comments outside of the meeting concerning the item. Are there any additional comments concerning it? Questions?
I have a question,
Yes, madam.
Chairman Adams.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, what is the timeline of the project?
Mr. Thompson's coming forward, I think, to
Thank you.
address that.
Yeah, as Mr. Thompson comes forward, part of the presentation that Bill Camp presented to you all for the GO bond referendum, so you're going out in November to secure funding for the $25 million. Mr. Thomas can give you dates on when we estimate the construction document should be on board and how long it will take for construction. Thank you. Mr. Thomas?
Marcus Thompson, 6701 Church Street. Good afternoon.
Hey, Marcus.
So the expected date for the construction documents were set for June 11, but pending approval tonight, it'll be delayed, and we'll get an updated schedule sometime this week, and I can send that over to you guys.
All right. Thank you. Any other
Thank you, Mr.
questions,
Thompson.
Chairman?
Thank you. Others? Madam Mayor, did you have a question?
No, sir, just excited about Jesse Davis Park and the possibilities.
Amen. Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Seeing no other questions or comments, then I make a motion we approve item 21-263.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's been properly moved and second, moved by the chair and second by Councilmember Watts to approve item 21-263. Do we have any additional comments or questions as it relates to this item? Thank you. I don't see any. All those in favor of approving, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. 21-263 is unanimously approved.
Madam Mayor, I'm sorry, point of order. My vote got put on the against. Wanted to get
I
that
see it.
corrected. I guess I pushed something I shouldn't have pushed. There you go. Thank you.
I see it now.
Ms. Candace took care of that.
If you're slow in pushing the second button, it overlaps the against button, so that's why that probably happened.
We'll move on to item C.
Technology.
Authorize the mayor to sign a lease with Broad Street Station LLC for airspace above O'Neill Plaza for a balcony and for ground and airspace for outdoor stairs. Ms. Williams is here. I know that she presented this item on Thursday. I would assume this is a very similar agreement to what we've had with previous tenants or previous owners of the property and other businesses. Are there any questions anyone might have concerning that?
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted, I know Mr. Sarowitz and the station, Broad Street Station, if you want to come forward and just give us an overview, because you weren't here on Thursday, just for them to talk to us about the time frame and when you're opening and all of that and the airspace. Excited to have the Irish Bread Pub be occupied. Give us your
Yes.
name and address for the record, please.
Sean McPherson, Broad Street Station, address 12377 Veterans Memorial Highway.
Yes, sir.
Our timeline, we're looking at doing a 6/26 soft opening and our grand opening at 7/10, Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. And I'm sorry, what was the other item you wanted me to?
I'm sorry, for communications, we can't hear the speaker. I don't know if you can
Sorry
turn the
about that.
microphone up a little bit.
Okay, sorry.
There you go.
Our timeline
There you
is, we're
go.
looking to do our soft opening on 6/26, and then our grand opening on 7/10 is what we're planning on doing. I guess this item's for the lease. As far as I can speak to it, it's exactly the same as the Irish Bread Pub lease, as far as I know. Is there any other questions you want me to address with anybody?
No, sir.
Anyone? Thank you, Mr. McPherson. Appreciate you coming in tonight. Look forward to working with you. If there are no other questions or comments, then I would make a motion that we approve item 21-275.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. I have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
That was Hardy's second. I don't know which one pushed. It was Mayor Pro Tem and Councilmember Estes and Councilmember Davis. So who do we get, Ms. Candace? Mayor Pro Tem. Okay, quick draw, draw. It's been properly moved and second to approve 21-275. Do we have any additional comments or questions as relates to this item from council members? Thank you. Not seeing any. All those in favor of approving, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. 21-275 is unanimously approved.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. That's all that we have tonight.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. We'll move on to Housing and Community Affairs Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Dr. LaShawn Verdamley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business tonight under Housing and Community Affairs. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Legislative and Intergovernmental Committee, chaired by Councilmember Samuel Davis.
Have no business tonight, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Councilman Davis. Personnel and Organization Committee, chaired by Councilmember Chris Watts.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business tonight in Personnel and Organization.
Thank you so much, Coach. We'll move on then to Planning and Development Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Mark Adams.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Planning and Development tonight, we have 3 items. We'll start with item A, consider a request for approval of a development plan for Riverside West Business Park, Tract D, on 24.82 acres at 1700 North River Road, Land Lot 173, District 1, Section 5, Parcel 13, for plans dated February 12, 2021. Application by Rooker Riverside LLC. Ms. Williams?
Okay, Patrice Williams, Community Development Director, 6701 Church Street. We have no new information to report at this time, but we do recommend approval for this item. Mr. Cardoza could not be with us tonight. He sends his regards, but if you have any questions for us, just let us know.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Are there any questions or comments of council or Madam Mayor concerning this item? I know this development plan has been reviewed by our staff, and they are telling us that everything is in order, and we are ready to go forward. Questions, comments? Mr. Estes, I see you nodding. I understand that you are fine with the plan as drawn and as presented.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I am.
Yes, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing none, we will make a motion then that we approve item 21-273.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. I have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Hardy, second. Do you get it, Ms. Candace? Let the ward council member push the button for his ward. Yes, ma'am, thank you. I know. It's been properly moved by the chair and second by Councilmember Estes to approve item 21-273. Do we have any additional comments or questions, any deliberation as relates to this item? Not seeing any further discussion, all of those in favor of approving, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Item 21-273 is unanimously approved.
Item B, refer to the Planning Commission a proposed ordinance to amend Article 2 of the Unified Development Ordinance to add a subsection 2.05CC to regulate new and expanding small box discount stores. Ms. Woodward? Anything that you had to add to Thursday's presentation?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We did add into our attachment new maps of where we currently have groceries, and I do want to commend our new GIS system. It is very good. And if you click on the food access link to the attachment, you can see that this is actually showing distance to driving to service area, how much time it takes to drive to a place with grocery stores. And it also outlines family income, and it also gives you dots that talk about population size. I will say that it does appear that there are certain areas in the city that do not currently have a grocery stores, but they also do not have small box discount stores. So we cannot conclusively say that small box discount stores are crowding out grocery stores in these wards. And that is all I have to add tonight.
Thank you. Questions, comments, Madam Mayor?
Yes, sir, comment. I understand, and we did have a moratorium. We were waiting from the study from Georgia State University to come back. Has that come in?
They have completed it, but they have not yet made it a public document. So we're waiting for them to take an official action to make it public.
Okay, so for, and I'm not certain if this is in the report, and of course we can't talk about anything in the report because we don't have it, but your data that you've given to us, it talks about areas that there may not be a grocery store. Does that in turn say that, for example, in New Horizons and tributary area, we're bartering to get grocery stores, so we don't want to in turn because we don't have them yet, or rooftops or whatever the data is, to have a small box store, like a Dollar Tree. We don't want to, am I making myself clear? I'm being confusing. So I'm saying, just because we don't have a grocery store there yet, we don't want to in turn say, because we don't have a grocery store there yet, then we want a Dollar Tree.
That is correct, but there is no way to constitutionally prevent a property owner that is properly zoned to utilize their property in a way that they want. So if it is that they want a dollar store, then, and they don't violate the distance requirements, and they can conform to the additional facade requirement, then by law, we need to be able to grant their applications for permits and licenses.
Okay, I don't want to violate the law. See, Mr. Dawson looking at me. The other question I was going to ask is, if it's not a traditional grocery chain, if food is sold there, for example, at a convenience store, is that considered grocery? And do they still have to adhere to the 2-mile radius or whatever the mileage that we have? Like, for example, if it's a gas station, but they sell groceries as well.
So gas stations are excluded from the definition of small box discount stores. So they do not need to conform to the requirements that we're adding.
And if it's in the county, can we still use a distance or no? For example, we have one on on Brownsville Road, and but that's in the county. It's right outside of the city of Douglasville.
Right, we're not counting the establishments that are outside the city.
Okay, I was trying to get a little wiggle room, just asking. All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is our moratorium over?
It'll expire on June 13th, and so the next agenda item is discussing extending it so that we'll have time to push forward the ordinances that need to be in place to make sure that at least we have a heightened requirement for facade, because we really want to make sure we get nice small box discount stores if they were to move in.
Okay, Councilman Estes, I'm not sure if the Publix on Fairburn and/or the Dollar Tree up the street from Fairburn, is that within the requirement? I know those are probably both county. Are those within the requirement of tributary, the distance-wise? Do you know? Are those county?
They are.
They're both county. Yeah, the Dollar Tree on 166 in Fairburn.
There's Family Dollar even closer than those two, which is also county. You know?
Yeah, so we can't include that because they're county. And the Publix is county as well. Okay. All right, thank you so much.
Other questions or comments?
I have a question.
Yes.
Thank you, Attorney Woodward. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just for clarity, just want to make sure. The New Horizons is doing a study in regards to new businesses coming, and to just confirm what the mayor just stated, if the moratorium is in place and there is not a set business in the New Horizons area, they would be exempt from the moratorium. Is that what you're stating?
No, the moratorium covers all the dollar stores that fit the criteria or the definition of small box discount stores.
And my next question is, how many times can we, as a mayor and council, actually have the moratorium in place?
It's really as long as you have a need to assess certain, you need time to assess how to move forward with this type of regulation.
All right, thank you.
Generally speaking, moratoriums are reviewed by the court in terms of reasonableness. If you have one longer than 180 days, the courts have a tendency to want to know what the necessity is.
Gotcha.
Particularly if you're doing a study or ordinance change, something like that. Usually, if you can't wrap it up in 180 days, you may have been premature in putting the moratorium on in the first place.
Gotcha. Thank you. No other questions?
Mr. Chairman, I was going to say, but we do know that the study from Georgia State, and there are other cities within the metropolitan area that are doing studies as far as small box stores are concerned. So we're all gathering that data. As long as we're continuing to do a study and we don't go beyond the 180 days, we can extend feasibly. We could extend. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, go ahead,
Just
Judge.
one last question. One of the things I noticed in the ordinance is during this moratorium, it includes liquor license. So if during this moratorium, there's a change that requires a new liquor license, then that particular small box would be unable to take care of that, I guess.
That is correct.
I'm just.
Now you confused me, Coach.
They need to be corrected. If you have an existing business.
Yeah,
right.
That's what I was wondering.
I'm not sure you can essentially tell them they can't renew it because you're considering a ban on small boxes.
Right.
That's in there, it needs to be changed.
I mean, that's the way I understood it as I read it, that's why I asked. But I could have misunderstood what I was reading, but it
Thank you,
seemed
Coach.
like if it's an established business, that would not be fair.
So if it is there, that, from what you've understood, and if what Ms. Woodward can verify for us, then how are we going about right now changing over and having in other committees under public safety a change of ownership or change of liquor license in existing locations?
So this moratorium really applies to new and expanding businesses.
That's what I thought.
Okay.
Not renewals or changes in agent outlet managers for existing liquor.
Right, if they're
Okay.
not doing anything with expansion of their business, then
Okay.
there's no need for the moratorium to apply.
That makes sense. Okay. I want to make sure. Thank you, Coach. Others? Okay, seeing none then, item B, 21-279, make a motion for approval.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. I have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. It's been properly moved and second to approve item 21-279 by the chair and seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Terry Miller. Do we have any additional comments or questions as it relates to this item from council members? Thank you. Not seeing any. All those in favor of approving, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. 21-279 is unanimously approved.
Madam Mayor, I apologize, and I think I'm becoming senile here.
No,
Did
you're
I not just double up 279 and say that item twice, or was that item B? Because item C is related. I want to make sure that I'm not.
We were at item B, but item C is related to
Okay,
it.
just want to make sure I'm not double stepping
You're
here.
not. See, now, it's confusing. They look
Okay.
the same.
We'll go to item C, adopt a resolution to extend the moratorium on the acceptance of granting or denial of licenses, permits, and applications for new or expanding small box discount stores and set its expiration date to 11:59 p.m. on July 31, 2021. Ms. Woodward, did you have anything to add to that?
I do not have anything to add.
Okay, just a general question, just to make sure. How long will we have had a moratorium then come July 31st of this year? Will it be 6 months or 180 days?
90 days plus about 30 days.
Okay. So we would be still within the 6 months window to where we would not seem to be trying to just prevent them from coming in at all.
Right. We're
Okay.
still doing our study. So how many, I know I need to know my math, but, so it's 130, tell me how many days it'll be after this moratorium, after the 31st of July?
It should be, so we have 90 days that expires June 13th.
Uh-huh.
And then this is about
45 days.
40 days after that. So it'll be 130 days.
Oh, so we still have time
Yes.
if we haven't gotten the studies back from other cities and Georgia State, who's doing a study over the metropolitan area about small box stores. We still have an opportunity, if we have not gotten that information, to do another extension just to gather all that
That's
to make our
correct.
decision.
That is
Yes.
correct, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, any other question or comment? Okay, then, item 21-280, I've already read that. We'll make a motion to approve that extension of the moratorium.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. I have a motion to approve the extension. Do I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you, Mayor, Councilmember Estes. It's been properly moved in second to approve item 21-280 by the chair and Councilmember Estes. Do we have any additional comments or questions from council members? Thank you. I don't see any. All those in favor of approving, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. 21-280 is unanimously approved. Thank you, Ms. Woodward.
Thank you, Madam
Ms.
Mayor. That's all
Williams.
we have tonight under Planning and Development.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. We'll move on then to Public Improvement and Beautification Committee. The vice chair is Councilmember Adams.
No business tonight under public improvement and beautification. Madam
Thank
Mayor,
you.
thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, sir. Public Relations Committee, chaired by Councilmember Howard Estes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The Public Relations Committee has no business this evening.
Thank you, sir. We'll move on then to Public Safety, number 15, and that committee is chaired by Councilmember Samuel Davis.
Yes, ma'am. Madam Mayor, I have a couple of items. Let's start with item A, holding a public hearing to consider request for the alcoholic beverage license for the on-premise sale and consumption of wine and malt beverage, spirit liquor at the following establishment. Proposed license, Broad Street Department, LLC, DBA Broad Street Station, location 12377 Bedroom Memorial Highway. Proposed agent outlet manager, Sean McPherson. Required fees have been paid into the Finance Department. Good afternoon, Mr. McPherson. How are you today?
Doing good.
Okay. Can you state your name and?
I'm Sean McPherson. Address is 12377 Veterans Memorial Highway.
Okay. Madam Mayor, we had some members that was out the other day at the meeting. If you have any questions from the mayor and any other council members that was out or?
Okay, I would just, thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Again, Mr. McPherson, if you can give us a brief synopsis of how you check your ID, for pouring alcohol, and how you train the people, your servers, and all of that, just for the
All of
council.
our servers and bartenders will be tip certified and be registered with the city of Douglasville, and we will card everybody who comes in and asks for an alcoholic drink, no matter of their age.
Okay, and you have experience in having a license, correct?
Well, this is the first actual license I personally held, but I've worked in a bar for 15 years, correct?
Yes, sir. All right, thank you so much. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, also, Mr. McPherson, your registers will alert an age when they put their birthday in. Your registers.
Your
For
registers?
alcohol, will they have the alert on them when they put the birth date in them?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions from the council? Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we approve 21-260.
Mr. Chairman, did you do the public hearing?
Yes, we did it on Thursday, and we had no takers.
Okay. All righty. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Do we have any additional comments or questions from council members? We do have a motion to approve item 21-260 from the chair. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Thank you so much, Councilman Estes. We have any additional comments as it relates to this item from the elected body? Thank you. Not seeing any. All those in favor of approving, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. 21-260 is unanimously approved.
Thank you, sir. Looking forward to your grand opening.
Thank you, Mr. McPherson.
Okay, moving right along, Madam Mayor, to item B. Hold a public hearing to consider a request for an alcoholic beverage license for the on-premise sale and consumption of wine and malt beverage and spirit liquor at the following establishment. Proposed license Grit Brunch Bar, LLC, DBA Grits Brunch Bar, location 6671 Church Street. Proposed agent outlet manager, Tanisha Force. The required fees have been paid into Finance Department. Good afternoon, Ms. Force. How are you?
Fine, how are you guys?
I'm fine. Ms. Force, I have a question for you.
She had to have her name and address, Mr. Davis.
Tanisha Ford, 6671 Church Street, Douglasville, 30134.
Yes, ma'am.
And for one of the council members that wasn't here on Thursday, can you repeat how you going about training your establishment for the alcohol?
We're going to use the tip training certifications, and we're going to make sure everybody is carded when they come in. We train our staff and do background checks on everybody that's working in the.
So, if you speak a little loud, do you have a company that's coming in to?
Yeah, I have a bar consultant that he's doing all the training as well.
Okay.
Yep.
And when are you planning on opening?
Saturday.
Saturday?
Yeah.
What time is the grits? What time?
10.
Saturday. So the drinks to start flying at what time?
Well, I can't say the drink's gonna fly. I got one little snack with this. When I get these in the morning from you guys, I gotta go to the state. I talked to them this morning, so they're gonna shoot for trying to give it to me on Thursday. But if everything go right, we can give mimosas, but not sure quite yet.
What you said is Mimosa?
Mimosas.
Okay.
We hope so.
You tried it?
He tried it.
He knows what they are.
He know they are, okay.
Put my seat at the front of the bar. Okay, if there's no other question, Madam Mayor, I'd like to approve 21-261.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. I have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Byrd Danley. It's been properly moved and second to approve item 21-261. Do we have any additional comments or questions from council members as it relates to this item? Councilmember Adams, I was saying on Thursday, I just had to put this in there, that Ms. Ford's daughter just graduated from UGA. So I want to.
Well, I have something to say then.
I know, that's what I was telling her.
Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.
Congratulations, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. So thank you so much. Do we have any additional comments or questions outside of me making that comment for UGA?
I have additional question.
Oh, yes, sir.
Madam Mayor, I have an additional question.
Mm-hmm.
The menu.
Okay.
Y'all know to eat now, y'all know that.
She talked about the menu, but you can say it again. You know, we haven't eaten yet, but go ahead.
I'm hungry.
Have it get us ready.
Is it grits and shrimp, or what is it?
We have grits and shrimp, oxtails and grits, catfish and grits, spaghetti and fish, pork chops and grits. Since it's called grits, we have a lot of grit items to go with different meats. We have a little soul food touch. We have yams, mac and cheese, collard greens, eggs.
So a little soul food, right?
Just a little stitch of soul food.
Because it's a grits bar.
It's a grits brunch bar, so it's more brunch food. But we have red velvet waffles with cream cheese drizzle.
Okay, get that plug in there. You getting that advertising. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I'm trying to get everybody here so we can have a good crowd on Saturday. We're excited.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. That's all I have, Madam Mayor.
No, thank you so much, Councilmember. Thank you, Ms. Fords. All those in favor of approving item 21-261, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. 21-261 unanimously approved. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you. That's all I have, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. We'll move on then to item 16, which is Recreation, Culture, and Tourism Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Chris Watts.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We had one item tonight, authorize the mayor to sign an agreement with DLL Finances LLC for the lease of golf carts to the West Pines Golf Course. Mr. Cartwright presented on Thursday and gave us a lot of great information. Mr. Cartwright, before you provide the information that was requested, could you just kind of give us a brief overview about what's going on with the golf carts?
Of course, Chris Cartwright, 9090 Rose Avenue. So Cliff Notes version of last time, we're continuing with Club Car, if approved. So I know the lease agreement is with DLL, that's the financing company, but it will be the same manufacturer of golf carts, same number of golf carts. The big change is the switch from a lead-acid battery to a lithium-powered battery. Lithium battery is 600 pounds lighter per cart, charges in half the time, and will save us approximately $9 per car per month to charge. So it adds up to quite a bit of savings with the electrical bill at the end of the year.
Thank you. And somebody, I think Councilman Davis had a question. Councilman Davis, you want to ask that question again?
Billy, did you get your homework? Did you do your homework for me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead and spill it.
All right, I got a whole list of the courses that have the new lithium-powered carts, but I'll stick to the Metro Atlanta ones. Golf Club of Georgia in Alpharetta, Big Canoe in Jasper, Chateau Elon in Brazelton, Athens Country Club in Athens, Georgia, Smoke Rise in Stone Mountain, Horseshoe Bend in Roswell, Stonebridge in Rome, and Bears Best in Atlanta. And I'll throw in an extra one, the Auburn University Club uses them as well.
So we'll be the only one local that changed over to those.
That's correct. With Club Car, I believe that Chapel Hill and Mirror Lake are all easy-go. The management group that they have can negotiate a little bit better bargain than we can with the numerous clubs that they manage. So easy-go, we did get a quote, but they were higher than Club Car in this case.
Okay. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem, did you have something?
Yeah, quick question. If you're reducing the weight by 600 pounds, what do those batteries weigh to begin with?
They're pretty heavy. And each golf cart with the lead acid has 6 batteries underneath the seat. So you're going from a battery that's roughly that size to a new lithium-powered battery that's about the size of a briefcase.
It was 600 per battery or 600 for the...
Per car.
Per car.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's
about 100 pounds per battery.
Wow. Those things weigh a lot, then, just
They do.
Okay, thanks.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Chris. That's why he's the golf pro, Councilman Davis. So with the lithium battery, I believe Mirror Lake has lithium in their carts now.
They probably do. If they've got, if any golf course has gotten a new fleet in the last year or two, the new electric golf carts are going to be lithium.
Yes, I was there a few weeks ago, and I believe they're lithium. So the other thing is that you didn't neglect to mention this. I just remembered because I thought it was something that was important to say, that when the batteries are less on the golf carts, it's going to put less wear and tear on the greens, and so we won't have to,
Fairways.
the fairways, pay all that money to continue, replenish the greens. So that'll be nice as well. And the seating, it's still, with the new golf carts, it's still
Same configuration, same, from the outside, the golf cart's going to look the same. Yep.
Okay, and people still can use their phones to watch
Yes,
the
ma'am. We'll
NBA
have
or NFL?
the same connectivity features that we have in the current fleet.
Okay, that's all I had. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Any other questions or comments? Thank you, Mr. Cartwright. You gave us some great information. I'd like to make a motion to approve item 21-266.
Second.
Thank you so much. It's been properly moved and second to approve item 21-266 by the chair, Councilman Watts, and second by Councilman Adams. Do we have any additional comments or questions from council members? Thank you. I don't see any. All those in favor of approving this item, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. 21-266 unanimously approved. Congratulations, Ms. Cartwright.
Madam Mayor, that's all I had tonight under Recreation, Culture, and Tourism.
Thank you so much, Councilman Watts. We'll move on then to Technology Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Mayor Pro Tem Terry Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business with the Technology Committee at this time.
Thank you so much, sir. We'll move on then to Transportation Committee, chaired by Councilmember Dr. LaShawn Burdanley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We do not have any written items under transportation. I'm sure at some point our city manager will update us on the Highway 92 relocation project.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. And that's exactly what I was going to ask after we didn't have any transportation items that were listed. So under other business, we will have a report from our city manager. Before we have the report from the city manager about Highway 92, I want to thank you so much, Councilmember Burdanley, for really initiating the conversation to continue. I know that Highway 92 is not in the purview of the city. It's a GDOT project, but we do have influence. And so we appreciate you so much reaching out to Congressman Scott and having the Zoom meeting that we had with him and his staff and elected body and our staff to try to help us remedy some of these issues with change. And change is hard sometimes, especially it's been an inconvenience for such a long time. But we're happy to see the project is wrapping up. But I just want to personally thank you and publicly thank you for all of your blood, sweat, and tears and your hard work that you've put into this project. Thank you for taking time also to ride along with GDOT on Friday, making certain that they saw firsthand what's going on. It's been a long, long time, and so we're very happy, and I want to thank GDOT as well. I know Commissioner McMurray, Madam Chair, and we had a meeting with him, and he is really committed to continue to move the project forward. So you're welcome. City Manager, if you don't mind giving us an update. Before that, Chief, talk to us about the community. You told me it was very successful on Saturday. You used the Easter egg hunt and everything at the police department.
Yes, that was our third annual summer festival. So yes, it was very successful. We will be having a fall festival, and we will be having our jamboree over on Hollis Street. Jamboree will be coming up pretty soon as well. So, and we're doing some things over at the trailer park on 92. So we're just getting out in the community and doing some positive things in the community to let the community know that we're one with the community, and we're all working together to keep this city safe.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And I know you just had a use of force probably 3 weeks ago. And,
yes, we had a use of force training to talk about our use of force policies, and people can look on our Facebook page and they can see, read our use of force policy. We had the GBI out as well. The GBI does all our officer-involved shooting. We don't do those investigations ourselves. So those things are done by the GBI, and then it goes to the DA's office for her consideration. We're completely out of that loop. And Wednesday and Thursday, we will have the FBI here teaching a mass casualty leadership forum. And we have about 62 officers from all over the country, and Virgin Islands will be here in Douglasville getting training on the mass casualty leadership. So doing some great things to keep our community safe and keep our officers trained.
Thank you so much, Chief. And you've started back Youth Against Violence as well?
Yes, we start Saturday, our new summer class. It's 10 weeks. So anybody want to send a young person to the class, and basically we're just trying to unlock the potential of the young men and women and keep them away from the criminal justice system, the complex of being involved with the criminal justice system. So, you know, it's an educational component, and so this is going on our 13th year. So, you know, send your young person over, and we'll have some great conversations.
Thank you so much, Chief. And we appreciate everything the police department is doing. I want to just put that plug in. I know you had a great festival on this past Saturday. And thank you, Mr. Roberts. I see him in the audience. Thank you so much for helping to get the grass and all those ride-alongs. So thank you, Mr. Roberts, for that.
Madam Mayor?
Oh, yeah, I apologize. Yes, sir.
While we talking about
Juneteenth, is it coming up?
Yes, while we talking about festival, I want
Yes,
to get
sir.
the plug in for Juneteenth. That's June 19th, and 100 Black Men is partnering up with BE. Walgreens will have their bus out, giving out COVID shots, and the county has their voters bus. They got a brand new bus they want to show off for voters registration. That'll be a part of the June 19th, and a ton of entertainment. The Douglas County Community Choir will be coming out, and choirs from all over, and entertainment.
Okay.
That's Saturday, June 19th.
Thank you.
Start time from 11 to 7:30.
11 to 7:30.
And
And it's on the
Howard-
plaza.
Ma'am?
It's on the plaza, isn't
It's
it?
on the plaza. And there's another great event coming up, and I didn't share this with Howard, but I think the city manager knows about it, that the chamber having.
You dancing with the stars.
Dancing with the Stars. Dancing with the Stars fundraiser.
Yes, sir.
Just to see Sam dance.
I tell you,
Well, guess-
Madam Mayor, it is, when they called me, I couldn't turn it down because Brian Faulkner and Dahlia and the superintendent of Trenton office in there, and I got to go.
I know. Well, I'm going to try to be very, I'm a judge, so.
Did they call you? Oh,
I'm a
you're a judge?
I'm a judge. I know. So I'm a judge with Dancing with the Stars, so we'll see how it
Training
happens.
twice a week in a secret location.
I know.
I don't want nobody trying to scope in.
Thank you so much, Councilman.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That
Other
is June 18th, and the watch party is at Sam and Roscoe's, and the website coming out. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. The only other business for the city is Food Truck Mondays. It started today, is that correct?
Jason
Williams,
Post is going to be here to do his report, and he's going to list that information in there. I will tell you that it was rained out today, so we had to cancel. So yes, it did start today.
Okay, Food Truck Mondays, and the Farmers Market has been here for 4 weeks, I believe, and that's tomorrow.
I'll have to get Jason to give you the exact dates and times. I don't want to mention the wrong one, but he'll be here shortly.
Oh, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Under the staff report. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
We'll move on. Ms. City Manager, please give us an update on Highway 92.
All right, so as was previously mentioned, I mean, there have been several meetings regarding Highway 92. I think everyone on council knows that myself and Greg Roberts primarily meet consistently once a month with GDOT now that we've gotten to a point where there are a lot of boots on the ground activities that it does require some localized information about not just our businesses, our citizens, and just our normal traffic patterns that happen throughout the course of the day here in Douglasville, Douglas County. We've been having those meetings probably over the last, I would say, year to 18 months. We were notified within this past 3 to 4 weeks that the Camilton Street crossing would close. Now, from our understanding with Mr. Roberts, we've known that that crossing was going to close. What we did not know and what we weren't aware of what was going to trigger the closing of the crossing. And per contracts and documents between the Georgia Department of Transportation and Norfolk Southern, what triggers the closing of that crossing is the opening of the underpass, which opened on May 27th, right before Memorial Day. I had gotten in contact with Norfolk Southern to request an extension of the closure. The original closure date was June 14th. So we did get an extension to July 15th. A lot of that had to do with meetings requested by Councilmember Danley and Congressman Scott's office and working with GDOT to see if we can extend that closure. I can tell you that that's a hard closure. Norfolk Southern is not moving beyond that date. That date is set and that crossing is going to close. What we did discover during a meeting on Friday with the Georgia Department of Transportation was when construction starts on the McCarley Street crossing, we will be looking at potential on-again, off-again closures with McCarley Street. So my recommendation to them is rather than have consistent impediments of closing or opening the crossing during construction, it may be more advantageous to just close the crossing during construction, and that would allow for us to have a dedicated business access only access on Strickland Street for the residences and the business owners that are there. In particular, Mitchell Appliance, and I know Vicki and Mike Mitchell are here. That would allow for them to be able to have direct access to their business without having to deal with pass-through vehicular traffic. So we can work with GDOT on being able to establish a route as well as with the Mitchells to be able to accommodate them since they get deliveries. And it would be the same thing for anyone who lives on that street. So it would literally be just for that group, and anyone who would be coming into town would still then have access to the Camilton Street crossing until July 15th. The other is it would allow for a more expeditious construction schedule. If we have the permanent closure, GDOT is telling us that it should take anywhere from 30 to 45 days. GDOT is telling me 45 days. I'm going to say 60 days. So considering that it would take 60 days to complete the relocation of McCarley Street, that would allow for them to continuously work during the summers where traffic is a lot lighter versus having an on-again, off-again closure that can extend past 90 days well into when school starts, and you're constantly having to deal with vehicular traffic, and then you may have to close the crossing anyway. A very similar example of that was the Mosley Street crossing. They tried to keep it open, and they couldn't due to construction, and then they had to close it. So our goal with the two crossings are to, I did have a meeting today with Jason Post, who is our communications, community relations director. He's going to be presenting a little bit later, is to work on a particular campaign that would help to communicate not only with the individuals that travel that route often, but those that may be coming into Douglasville and into town. The other is once we get direct information from GDOT to go door to door, to explain the businesses, to talk through some of the nuances that individuals may be dealing with. GDOT has committed to giving me a detour schedule midweek this week. Once I get that detour schedule, what I have to do is get that with Greg Roberts with Public Services so they can travel the route, as well as with the chief and his staff so they can look at any safety measures. I can tell you when we've done this before, when we get detour plans from GDOT, oftentimes you all don't see those detour plans because by the time they get to Public Services and Public Safety, we've either ruled out issues that may exist and have them go back to the drawing board. So that's the purpose of the monthly meetings. So when I get that schedule on Wednesday, I don't want to commit to anybody, to you all or anybody in the room, that schedule will be something that we can actually put in place next week. Because it may be by the time that we do some boots on the ground analysis, it won't work and we have to go back to the drawing board. What I will tell you is also there were several issues that were brought up that were referenced in either some of the phone calls or emails that you all had that also was brought up on the ride-along, which includes landscaping, lighting, left turn signals, pedestrian crossing, pedestrian safety. All of those things are being currently evaluated. As it relates to the left turn signal at Malone Road, that is something that GDOT has committed to, that they would evaluate, and they more than likely will be able to install. What they have to do is go back to the drawing board because that signal is already there, and you're gonna have to look at reinstalling a new signal. As it relates to upgraded pedestrian access and amenities across 92 to Jesse Davis Park. What I've requested from the district engineer is that he give me a list of all of the potential upgrades that exist. One of the things that you all are going to have to decide is that once you get all of those potential pedestrian upgrades, that's going to be a cost to the city of Douglasville, and any ongoing maintenance would be a cost to the city of Douglasville as well. So I've asked for a list of those upgrades, a cost of the upgrades, as well as annual maintenance that would be required for those upgrades for those pedestrian areas. GDOT has installed what they feel is what is required for pedestrian safety based on the grade of the road and standards that they put in roads throughout the state of Georgia. You all may want something high at a higher level, but it's going to be at the cost of the citizens of Douglasville. I can go in and ask. I do believe that we do have potential leverage with GDOT, that they may be willing to add to some of the costs, but it depends upon how much it is. What they will not commit to will be the ongoing maintenance. They may cover the cost of the installation, but it wouldn't be the ongoing maintenance. There have been concerns about the issue and the conditions of the landscaping. That project is not a City of Douglasville project. It is not at the responsibility at this time of the City of Douglasville to take care of. It is landscaping that's been installed by contractors with GDOT, working with C.W. Matthews, and until that project is completely turned over, we have no responsibility for that. That project is, the landscaping is not necessarily fully installed either. Those are things that GDOT will have to go back and revisit, and they've committed to going back and revisiting. As it relates to the lighting, I'll have Greg Roberts come up and have some conversation about the lighting. I have not yet talked to the chief about some of the vandalism that's occurred at the lighting on the light poles, because again, the meeting just happened on Friday. We do believe that there have been some rocks thrown at some of the globes, so those have been blown out, but the lights are not energized, and there's a series of reasons as to why those lights are not energized, and it's a multitude of steps that have to happen through a variety of contractors. GDOT has committed to putting in temporary lighting at the underpass. What that looks like and the timeline, I don't have those answers right now, and I probably won't have those answers until either midweek or the end of next week. Lighting, landscaping, pedestrian safety, crossings. What I can tell you, I think that's the list of all of the major items that have happened. Greg, if you want to come up and just talk about what has to happen with the lighting. I will tell you, this project is going to have a multitude of shifts over the next 6 months. This project is not even close to being done. I know that there's a thought process that we're done. We're not close to being done. We have a long ways to go, and there are going to be a lot of changes. The major thing that has happened to date is the underpass has opened. The next hurdle that has to happen is the construction of McCarley Street, which is then going to prompt the closure of Camilton Street, which is midsummer. But there is still a tremendous amount of work that has to get done before the project is considered finished and complete, and that is probably not going to happen until well into the fall, if not early winter. But I'll let Greg explain to you about the lighting and what type of potential timeline we may be looking at on the lighting. Okay.
Yeah, and I can't totally give you a timeline on the.
Mr. Gray, give us your name and address.
Greg Roberts, Public Services.
Yes,
so some of the discussion that had came up, and as Ms. Hampton has more than properly said, the railroad has been pushing on this project to get that underpass done.
Yes, sir.
Our crossing downtown it's one of the top most dangerous crossings in the nation as far as railroads are concerned, because it has the potential for colossal disaster that most of us never think about. But a train hitting a truck could cause a derailment. Some of you remember the derailment here 10 years ago, and I don't want to tie up on this, but there's a lot of reasons the railroad wants that crossing closed. That derailment we had 10 years ago in front of the old courthouse, it happened in the only place that it could have saved this town. Had it happened 300 yards back to the east, it probably would have wiped out all of downtown Douglasville, because those box cars would have went through those buildings. But it happened at about 2 o'clock in the morning, in the middle of the night. Everything was closed. Nobody was hurt except a lot of feelings. But the potential for a derailment in a truck-train crossing accident, we just had a truck stuck there Thursday. I got photos of it. Driver said he'd crossed it before, and he felt comfortable crossing it again, but it didn't work out Thursday. Anyway, just kind of letting folks understand that might be new in this conversation. But on the lighting, there's about 4 different components to the lighting. So when you think of the new 92 from Durley Lane, where Chick-fil-A is, and where it breaks off and goes to the north and goes under the underpass and back around to the Fire Station 10, Fire Station 11 on the north side. So the lights from Fire Station 11 up to just past what most of us know as the Dallas Highway intersection at Jesse Davis Park, those should get lit up this week. There was some breakdown communication with the contractor, subcontractor, and then getting an inspection from the city. So hopefully that one will be taken care of in a couple of days, and hopefully Georgia Power can energize that one before the end of the week, if not the first of next week. In talking with Georgia Power on this, one of the other issues was at Colquitt Street, and that's the area where Ms. Hampton mentioned that there's been some possible vandalism. I don't think going forward there'll be an issue with vandalism. It was just a construction project, and look, we were all kids one time. I can see a kid doing that. Not that I would have done it, but I had buddies that would have, and I'd have said, hey, don't do that. Probably. But the problem down there is they've been waiting on equipment for the contractor. So you've got C.W. Matthews, they have an electrical contractor, and then that electrical contractor has a subcontractor. So it's the subcontractor working on the street lights, the electrical contractor is working on the traffic signals.
Okay.
So the subcontractor had some trouble getting some equipment. I don't know if it's pandemic related, but they've got that equipment about 3 weeks ago. It's now been installed and corrected. They made the request to the Georgia Department of Transportation to do the bore underneath the new road. And when I talked to our contact at Georgia Power on Friday, he was well aware. He's the one that brought me up to date on this. GDOT did not necessarily know the information that he knew because he's boots on the ground in it. And he said, hey, it's been nobody's fault. We've been waiting on the equipment for the contractor to get it in. They've given us the call. We have limited bore crews. He said they're scheduled for this week. This was the Friday. He told me they were scheduled for this week, but rain's going to delay them on another project, so it could be next week. So that should be connected within the next 10 to 14 days, hopefully. Then that section can get lit up.
Okay.
At the bridge, as Ms. Hampton mentioned, now that's going to come later, but that will be a hardwire connection in its final state. But GDOT is looking at a temporary solution. I asked them what that meant, and they didn't exactly have an answer. But I don't think they're going to do satellite lights, but they could. Between the underpass and Durley Lane, that new section right there at Hospital Drive. So the subcontractor is still working on in-ground installation. Anybody that's been through there probably have seen them there. When we passed there the other day, they were working in a hole probably 20 feet long and 10 feet wide and about 8 feet deep. So there's been a lot of water line. They've hit water lines. There's been gas line work. So again, as Ms. Hampton said, this is still an ongoing project. The push and the rush was get the underpass done.
Right.
There's been many delays over the last 3 or 4 years. Some of them have been finger pointing between 2 entities that I won't name, not the city, but that delayed us, almost a year on one component, just simply because some mathematics was not correct on somebody's drawing. They had to go back to the table. It cost us 9 months on the project. So those are things that you can't make up the time. Then we had a pandemic. I can promise you that project was shut down times that really nobody knew about because last summer when one guy got sick, an entire crew working together had to stay home for 2 weeks. So when you saw that project dead for periods of time, that's most likely what was happening.
Yes, sir.
The other lighting component, I think that covers all the new 92. The other lighting component is on what most of us know as Dallas Highway, from Upshaw on Dallas Highway down to the new intersection at Jesse Davis Drive.
Right.
So if you recall back when Michelle Wright was here, she had a sidewalk lighting project that went on from about,
Was Upshaw?
it connected about Simpson Avenue
All the way
all the
down.
way down, but because the project at the vicinity of where now what we're talking about, Colquitt, Caldwell Court and Lake Ridge Subdivision and Jesse Davis Park, so they had to stop just south of there. So there were about 12 or 13 lights that didn't get installed. So I'm working with XL Air, that's the contractor that we had then, and on next council round, I'm meeting with him Thursday. We should have that wrapped up. I've got a couple of things I'm going to ask him to rearrange on his lighting, so we get some lights on Caldwell Court. So we should get that wrapped up. Then there's a component that Georgia Power has worked on with us about putting some lighting at the intersection of that Dallas Highway area and the extended Jesse Davis Drive and Malone Street.
Okay.
So that will light us up there.
That's going to be at the cost of the city of Douglasville. That is our cost. So that's why you'll be seeing that contract on your agenda in the next round of council meetings.
Okay. Now, before I open it up to, are you finished, Mr. Roberts?
I am. That's just the lighting. But Ms. Hampton and I can answer, we can respond.
Okay. So after I make a couple of comments, I'll open the floor to the work council members first, and then other council members who may have a comment. Thank you so much, staff. We appreciate the update. I did have a couple of things about, I know we have about 5 weeks before Campbellton Street, the hard closing, July 15th. Could we communicate, and I know, when GDOT is saying they're going to put messaging out, but like council members and myself know, it's not always the best timing. So we can work with GDOT, but can we make certain that we communicate boots on the ground? And if we have to, I know you've said we will go door to door to let people know of the change, and that the people who are not in this room and may not have access to know that that closing is going to happen on July 15th.
Yes, ma'am. We're going to take on our own communications plan. I mean, GDOT is going to give us what possibly may be required of them. I've already talked to Jason Post. So we'll have a variety of different stages of information that we'll get out. Greg Roberts with Public Services has already gotten additional reader boards that we will be putting out for people who will be getting off of I-20. So there'll just be an intentional communication plan with us as we receive information from GDOT.
Okay.
So we're going to put out what we know based on what we believe is in the best interest of the community. But again, some of what we get will be really will be at the holding of Georgia, the DOT, because we don't want to put out anything prematurely or any information that we don't have, because oftentimes we're getting information and literally it shifts in the day.
Yeah.
So, I just ask for patience. A good example is, several times we've had a potential closure of Highway 78 that you all weren't even aware about, but we received that email several times and it never happened. So it's just a lot of moving parts that happen very quickly.
Okay, and the city manager, Fairburn and going up to the Chick-fil-A, I know there are signs right on Hospital Drive. Is there anything, Madam Chair and we had a conversation with you the other day about letters that she's receiving, emails as well. I don't know what else we could do to let people know that they'll get caught in that area if they go in between the barricade to get to Chick-fil-A.
So we've talked about that actually when we were on the route. There was a truck that got hung up in there. We've talked about additional signage, but the reality of it is you're going to have to get caught to not do it again. I mean, I hate to say that, but the benefit is that the road is wide enough that you can make the turn and you can correct. So because you have the multitude of lanes, but there's signage right as you get to the entrance. We've talked about actually pulling signs back, but if you are a semi, you probably already at the light and you can't make the turn and you can't make an adjustment, especially on a busy day. But we do believe the way that the intersection is set up, at least at that point, there is enough area that someone can safely make a U-turn and not put anyone at risk. But we can look at putting up additional signage, but I think it's a matter of not paying attention until you get to the light.
Yeah, just used to going that way. And the last thing is about the lighting, and Mr. Gregg was very intentional and gave us a lot of information about that. If GDOT does not give us a schedule for lighting, and it's such a safety issue, is there any way that we could put our own temporary lighting in those areas that do not have? We can't do that?
Not,
State
not,
highway?
yeah,
Okay.
it's a state highway, and my fear would be putting us in a position of putting up lighting, trying to mitigate a safety issue, and then causing an issue.
There's no power there.
Correct.
There is no power. That's the problem.
Right.
Well, GDOT's going to put up, well, they told me, Ms. Lemon said they were going to do temporary lighting. If they're going to do generators or,
But that's at the underpass.
okay.
And so they mentioned temporary lighting. I personally know what temporary lighting is, but I wouldn't offer it for that.
Okay.
But I give credit to GDOT. They have ways. C.W. Matthews, they're one of the biggest and one of the best. They can come up with ways. If they're getting paid, they'll come up with a way. But currently, there's no juice there.
Okay.
But I would almost be willing to tell you that corridor is going to be lit up, regardless of all the work that's going on. That will be lit up before fall. That's going to be lit up pretty quick.
Okay.
And we get the benefit of the long daylight hours right now for the next 3 months or so, because it's daylight before 6, it's daylight till 9, 9:30. And so I'm confident that most of that lighting will be working before summer's out.
Ooh-wee, okay. Maybe they can put some, in my yard, I put the kind that the sun beam them up in the day, and at night, they're lit up.
And
So
yeah,
they'll
and I
do
will
that.
tell you, and to Greg's point, they're saying they're putting up temporary lighting, but it's gonna require engineering. So it's not like you can go put up a flashlight and it comes on. It's not gonna be that easy, and I don't want anybody to make an assumption that, you know, it's an easy fix that they put up a generator and the light gets powered. I mean, there are gonna be things that they have to do as they try to create a safe situation to make it per regulation. So it will require some level of engineering, which is not something that can happen or typically happens within 48 or 72 hours.
Okay, just as soon as possible, we just have to stress.
Power is aware of that.
That is correct. That's
Yeah,
right.
because we don't want anybody to die or have an accident while we're waiting for, you know, understanding bureaucracy, but it's a serious issue. The last thing is the railroad crossing. Would there be any overlap between McCarley Street and the 15th of July for Campbellton Street? I know we're saying that you're going to close an area, but just have accessibility for the businesses for Mitchell Appliance and all that to get in.
The goal is to create in a sense, you know, not necessarily using this as an example that it would be the exact same way, but the goal is to create dedicated access for the residents and the businesses on Strickland Street during construction that is only for them, that it is not for through traffic. The problem that's going to create delays is if you try to keep the crossing open in construction and allow for through traffic. If we can close the crossing, allow for them to have dedicated entrances where they can have their deliveries and pickup and residents can go to their business, construction can happen, and what GDOT's goal is to have it open by July 15th. So as Campbellton closes, McCarley opens. That would be the goal.
Okay, very good. And I will talk to Commissioner McMurray again and give him a call to see the drop dead date that he had given me was November of 2021, that everything was going to be done. And of course, we know we had a pandemic, so I will give him a call again and see when everything is going to be completed, the projected date that things will be done.
Yes.
So I will open it up now to Councilmember Davis and then Dr. Burke-Danley.
Okay, Ms. Hampton,
Yes,
can
sir.
you explain on that McCarley crossing, how many spaces it's going to take up, parking spaces?
How many spaces we're losing?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts, you know the exact number?
I do not know the exact number, but I can tell you now, for anybody that might get offended with me pointing east and west, but I know my wife and I have this discussion all the time, and she admits she doesn't know northeast, south, or west. But west is back toward Villa Rica, east being back toward Lithia Springs.
Okay.
So when you think in that terms, where Gumbo's is, and I'm referring to the south side in front of the businesses on Broad Street, the south side.
Which businesses? Broad Street?
Well, that's what I'm trying to make sure everybody's where I'm talking about.
Right.
So it's right in front of the businesses. So where Gumbo's is, Gumbo's on the east side of their business, there's an angle-in parking space there, and that's the last one until you get to the Vine. So we lose all of the spaces between the east side of the Gumbo's building down to the front of the old pub. So they will not have spaces right in front of their building. The spaces will pick back up, and those spaces will not be angle-in, they'll be parallel parking, about 3 or 4 of them. So we lose a good bit of spaces on that side. The ones that are causing us the largest headache are the 4 handicapped spots, and so we're working on that. I've had discussion with Mike Mettler, but the only safe place we can replace those is back up toward East Courthouse Square, because you have to have 2 angle-in parking spaces, and you got to have handicap access ramp, and that's not possible except up there or farther down. But and so angle-in, it takes 2 spaces. It's got 1 space is for the vehicle. The space beside it is for van accessibility. The only place we have room for that is back up the hill toward East Courthouse Square. And so that's been a difficulty for us, and we hadn't exactly figured out where those will go. So that's probably, for this conversation, maybe 10 to 15 spaces. Now, on the other side, on the westbound lane, so we lose a lot of spaces over there because they're turning some of those current parallel parking spaces along the railroad right-of-way going westbound. They're losing a bunch to for the right-hand turn lane that's going to be for the new McCarley. And on the other side of the new McCarley, those spaces pick back up near East Courthouse Square. So in your mind's eye, between East Courthouse Square and down to in front of the old Western Auto, all of those spaces along the railroad track are lost as a part of the route. There'll be a traffic signal there. But one thing I will point out is our parking deck is typically only about 30% full on any given day, Monday through Friday. Plenty of parking.
Free.
And it's free.
So, Mr. Robinson, the deliveries with the tractor trailers.
Say again?
Deliveries with the tractor trailers, would that be a problem?
It will be during construction, but post-construction, trucks with designation to that north side area can cross at the new McCarley.
Are you saying deliveries to the restaurants, Councilman Davis?
Yes.
You're saying deliveries to restaurants, you know, Gumbo's gets
Yeah,
their
we're going to
deliveries in
we will have to readjust that. And so currently, for those that know, there are some red hash marks out there designating where trucks can park, because we try to get trucks in there and out before 10:30 on a daily basis. So we will have to move that up a little ways. That area is going to get all milled up and repainted anyway, so hopefully we will be able to put those red hash marks back a little farther, and then we can put some down here in front of the Vine, and so they'll just rather than be back to back, they'll move farther down. There'll be one more on this side in front of Gumbo's, back more toward East Courthouse Square, and then there'll be one more so in front of the old Western Auto.
So McCarley going to be a right turn only?
No, it's going to be a signalized intersection.
There'll be a traffic signal there.
It's a double signal intersection with both operating off of each other. So it'll be a free moving intersection as long as you've got the green light.
Okay.
And one of the things you all had mentioned before, I think there was a question at one point when we were talking about LMIG and resurfacing. As you know, this was the project that we were waiting on, resurfacing Hollis and Warren in the streets over in that area, because we knew construction was coming. So once this construction gets over, we can now move forward with that, because we won't have to deal with a new paved road getting damaged due to construction.
All right, that's all you have, Councilman Davis?
Yes.
Thank you. Dr. Burdanley, you have anything?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Roberts and Ms. Hampton. I just wanted to say that this project, and I agree with you, Mr. Roberts, yes, it has been delayed for, you say, 9 years. It's been well over 30 years that this project has been delayed. And, you know, I just have to call it like it is. We have worked with the Georgia Department of Transportation for quite some time on this project, as well as C.W. Matthews. The referral that C.W. Matthews is the biggest and the best contractor pretty much in Georgia, I differ with that, because as many times as we have had town hall meetings, we have requested that C.W. Matthews be present, or at least send a representative, and from my understanding, we have not had that at all, just since Congressman Scott had put federal dollars and the city has put money on this project. As it relates to Norfolk Southern, I am grateful and thankful that whomever was able to make the call to stop the Campbellton Street closing, which initially was going to be on June 2nd. And that date changed from June 2nd to June 15th to July the 15th. For those of us that have worked on this project diligently, we knew that Campbellton Street was going to close. However, McCarley Street crossing should have been constructed way before now. Norfolk Southern did definitely get the underpath open with the date that they had stated, May 27th, and it opened. However, on the flip side of the residents, and whether it be C.W. Matthews, Georgia Power, or GDOT, to open a 6-lane highway, which all the 6 lanes are not open, with no lights, is totally unacceptable. So when Ms. Hampton and I were speaking, and I just want to say thank you, Marcia, for answering all my phone calls. I think she probably got 1,000,001, maybe at 1 or 2 in the morning, and that's okay, because someone needed to be uncomfortable at the time. And I felt like the urgency of getting the correct answer, whether the wiring was out, or was it COVID, was it somebody didn't talk. So there was always a different answer of why were there no lights. So the urgency to contact Congressman Scott was not even a second decision for me. So I'm really grateful that he was able to get on the call with the mayor and Commissioner Jackson Jones, along with Commissioner Mitchell and Councilman Davis, Mr. Roberts, Ms. Hampton, and GDOT, Mr. Denard, and the board appointee, Ms. Lemon, and then following the ride-through. I was very disappointed with answers that GDOT provided in relating to why there were no signal lights and why they could not appropriately answer questions about lighting and pedestrians. Is just not acceptable. I mean, we definitely, for those of us that live there, we are grateful and happy the underpath is open. However, it is not acceptable for it to move such as this. And if we have to keep our eyes open and our ears to the ground to make sure that this project is completed appropriately and safe and the right way. And with GDOT, with the construction, I hope that Campbellton Street and McCarley Street are not closed at the same time. And I think with GDOT, we have to ask them the hard questions, is what does your day-to-day construction look like? What happens on day 1? What happens on day 2? And we just have to speak to them like that. And as our city staff and our city manager and those that are in place, we have to ask those questions. So I just wanted to say that I thank you for keeping us abreast, and I think we just have to call it like it is and be honest with whomever we need to. And if somebody dropped the ball, whether it be the city, GDOT, C.W. Matthews, then we have to hold them accountable and not on the backs of the residents, because we pay taxes, we live here, and you all know, like I know, that on the north side of town, it has been well not up to standards. So it is all together that we have to make sure this project is done correctly. And it is hard, and I just want to say that if you have not driven the underpath to the mayor and council, please do it. Don't just drive it during the day, but please take a look and drive it at night. I don't have any other comments, Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Danley. Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll have the opportunity to drive, and I was actually rather amazed at how fast you can get from Fairburn Road down to Dallas Highway now. It's pretty amazing. At the very least, we have now, at a minimum, emergency service. Emergency services can get from one end of town to the other quickly. That's thankful for that. The question I have, though, the city manager, you mentioned that there was a construction process will likely take 45 days, realistically 60 days. Does that include the design and engineering of the crossing?
That's all done. No, this is just, this is actual construction. This is the hard part.
Okay, I just want to make sure that that wasn't being put in there as well.
No.
And the crossing will be flattened so that you don't have the mound like we have
Yeah,
currently?
it really is directly in front of Mitchell Appliance, because if you were to stand at the railroad track, is at the most level area along the track. But yes, it will have a pedestrian crossing, grade crossing there, as well as for vehicular traffic.
All modern signaling will be updated?
Yes, sir.
We're not getting leftovers from any?
ADA compliant, yes, sir.
Good. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
That's all.
Thank you. On this, anything, Councilmember Estes? Councilmember Adams? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
You're welcome.
I think in retrospect, the crossing being moved, and I believe it's only about 100 feet, 80 to 100 feet.
That's right.
You would wonder why it had to be moved, and I believe Mayor Pro Tem has brought this to light, and our city manager, so that you would have an ADA level crossing, and the grade there changes that much in that 80 to 100 feet. What I was hoping we would hear was that we would pick up spaces abandoned by the Campbell Street crossing for parallel parking, but I understand now you're going to have a right turn lane so that traffic will flow more freely to the west from the east. That's the reason we don't get those parking spaces back. Is that right, Greg?
Yes, and what I have not mentioned, and I'm only mentioning it because I think it's a possibility, but it's not drawn into the plans. I believe we have the potential to pick some up back toward the Campbellton Street intersection, but that's not drawn in, and that's something that we could, GDOT probably would give us no resistance to add them, but as Ms. Hampton can speak to it more eloquently than I only know about it. I don't get involved with it, but we actually pay the railroad for parking spaces, so
Yes.
they may up what we pay them. But that's not a huge issue, but I think most people do not understand that railroad right-of-way is more than those tracks. It goes well into Strickland Street and out into Bankhead Highway.
And I think it's unfortunate that we, as a community, I'm not going to say that we're held hostage by the railroad, but basically they own that right-of-way, and so we are limited what we can do. We're limited on what we can do as Dr. Berdanley has mentioned, being not necessarily pleased with the contractor that GDOT chose, but we don't have any input or control over that either, because it is a state and or federal project, and while I understand that we may not be satisfied with it, I'm not satisfied with the time frame that it has taken at all. It affects all of us, south and north, all the way down Fairburn Road, all the way to I-20. And it's unfortunate that it has taken this long, but there have been a large number of reasons why that are out of the ordinary. I don't know who the other potential contractors were, but I don't think the city was given any allowance had been put as to who was chosen.
Right, and with all due respect, Councilman Adams, you know, I know that the contract initially was between GDOT, C.W. Matthews, and we weren't in with the negotiation piece. However, it is our responsibility to hold them accountable to what should be done.
I would not disagree with that at all, but I don't think that they would consider us a player, or maybe they didn't consider us a player as they should have as a community, and so they may or may not have listened to our concerns early on, as we would hope that they would, although now we're, 7 years into the project and much closer to being complete than we were. I do wonder, Mayor, you had mentioned something about a complete opening in November of this year of everything being done. Is that something we have in writing? Because I seem to remember it would be next February before everything was stabilized and open, all the landscaping done, all the punch-out work done. I did not remember it being November. I thought it was February.
Well, he said November, and then landscaping was in February.
Okay.
So all the hard
I just wanted
projects,
to
I
make sure
apologize.
that we were in agreement as to what that date that they had given us prior was, because opening the right-of-way, completing the construction process, the landscaping, the punch-out, and
It's
it
February.
all had different dates, and so far they have made this one date. and that's May 27th, others to come.
Right.
Yeah, and it's just a lot of miscommunication that has
Yes.
been going on. But I just repeat strongly that we have to make sure that they're held accountable to, it's too much money has gone into the project. I mean, people have waited for years, and I'll say this over again. Mr. Vance, who just recently passed, worked for the railroad, and he said to me, I don't think I'll live to see this project. And he passed in April.
Yes.
And so, for those that came before me, Madam.
That's right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman Adams. Councilman Watts, you have anything? Okay, thank you so much. Now, we are going to, I'll go to updates from city staff, but before that, I did want to make just a statement, and Councilmember Burdanley, you know, I said this to Congressman Scott in my 30 seconds that I had to speak at the end of the meeting, that we really appreciate everything that's been done. And of course, the city is committed to New Horizons in the North Side area. I lived there for 23 years until we decided to downsize and move to the downtown while all kids are in college. But this $111 million project has been something that's been a passion of the entire community. Commissioner Mitchell, he and I were on the council at the same time in 2004 or 5, went to DC, and Congressman Scott allowed us to come on the floor and talk about the project, and that's when it was deemed a safety project for Federal Highway Commission. So that really started the ball rolling, and really he's pushed this project forward. But the city is really committed to making New Horizons look like it should. The entire council. You know, we have Willing Workers Park just recently. My sororities adopted Malone Street. The AKs adopted Malone Street, Jesse Davis Park, redoing the fields, Colquitt Terrace, Highway 92, Alice Hawthorne Center, new restrooms, basketball courts redone. We listened to the community about the pool. We're doing a whole new park. And, you know, the community said, we don't just want a splash pad, we want a pool, we want to bring, so we are definitely listening. We've been laser focused into making the community beautiful and let everything in Douglasville look like Douglasville, whether it doesn't north, south, east, or west. The entire community needs to look like the city of Douglasville. So that has been our focus. And we hope that citizens notice, even something small but it's big, is Christmas lights. You know, before I became the mayor, there weren't any Christmas lights outside. It stopped right at Campbellton Street and Strickland. But now they're all the way down Stewart, you know, past Stewart Middle School, even down to Jesse Davis Park that we had this past Christmas. Welcome to the city of Douglasville. So I just want, you know, just to put that in for the record that we are, the entire council, not just the ward council members, but myself, mayor, council, staff, are committed to making the community look beautiful. Okay, so I'll go down to updates from city staff. Our city attorney had to leave, Mr. Dotson, but we'll go to staff attorney, Ms. Lynn Woodward.
I have no other business tonight, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Chief of Police, good to see you, Chief. You have anything else?
No, ma'am, I have nothing.
Thank you, sir. Our city manager, Ms. Marsha Hampton.
Only thing I have is to call up Samantha Rosado. She needs to mention a report to you all about a street closure.
Okay. And then we'll have Mr. Post come as well.
Good afternoon,
Good
Mayor
afternoon.
and Council. Samantha Rosado, Tourism Program Manager, 12385 Veterans Memorial Highway. This evening, I want to bring in before you all filming that's occurring this Thursday, June the 10th. They will have affected road closures. It'll be Spring Street and Church Street. So on Wednesday, June 9th, from 7 a.m. until Friday, June 11th at 7 p.m., Spring Street between Bowden and Price Avenue will have a hard closure. And then there will be a hard closure on Friday, June 11th from midnight to 7 a.m. on Church Street between Campbellton and Club Drive.
Okay, so it will not interfere with the Grits Bar on Saturday?
It will not.
Okay, just to make certain. Okay, thank you so much.
No problem.
And Samantha, while you're here, could you talk to us about the farmer's market and food truck?
Farmers Market is happening on Tuesdays from 3 p.m. to 7, and it's happening in the old police precinct parking lot. And then Food Truck Mondays initially was going to happen this evening, however, it did get rained out. And so they're alternating weeks for that. So some weeks it's going to be around lunchtime, and then some weeks it's going to be around dinner time.
Okay, I think we had a question. Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah, quick question. Did you describe those as hard closures? Does that imply that they're going to be soft closures, like for certain brief periods of time beyond those shutdowns?
The hard closure is going to be the one that's Spring Street between Bowden and Price. The other closure, it is a hard closure, but it's going to be on Friday from midnight to 7 a.m., so that one won't really impact much.
Okay, there won't be anything temporary beyond that, but beyond those streets?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thanks.
And there'll be plenty of signage. And do we have they rented, or they have time for the police department? Who's going to be there to help them so people won't drive in the area and get in the film?
We're gonna have officers working in detail. It's a movie shoot.
Mm-hmm.
And during the hours where it would not conflict with the business hours and everything like that, but officers will be out working.
Okay, so they'll be able to direct traffic or reroute people? Okay.
And there will be plenty of signage. The filming crew has already provided us with a signage plan, and we provided that to the chief as well.
Okay, very good. Any other questions for Ms. Rosado? Thank you.
Thank you.
Samantha. Anything else, City Manager? All right, we do have a staff report, a presentation of Community Relations Department, the quarterly report by Mr. Post. Can you give us the Spark Notes or the short version? You wearing a lot of hats, Jason.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, Mayor, Council. Jason Post, Community Relations, 6695 Church Street. I will try to be brief and skim through this as quickly as possible, so there's time for plenty of questions. So,
yes, sir.
This is the current state of the Community Relations Department. We have done some slight changes to our organizational chart this past year. We actually consolidated our communications manager and our social media coordinator position into a single position. So we've actually been able to consolidate some of our positions and work a little bit more efficiently. We have one position, our marketing and events coordinator position, that will be vacant over the next fiscal year. And we are currently hiring the administrative assistant position. We're in the hiring process for that one now. So that is how we look as a department at this time. Our last report before you was in February of 2020, right before everything went a little bit crazy. We outlined a few upcoming projects that we had on the books for the next year. We were going to roll out some digital lobby displays in all of our city facilities. We're going to launch our Facebook ward groups. We're going to launch a new residence guide portal on our city website. Again, right after I delivered that update, everything went a little crazy in the world. So we still moved forward with some of those, but they took a little bit different direction than we originally intended. So with our lobby displays project, we were able to roll out new lobby displays in all of our city facilities, mainly in our City Hall, Conference Center, in the Icowens Community Center. Originally, these displays were intended to be digital displays to advertise upcoming events, city information, city news, and relay important information to our community. We quickly updated that use and used them to convey COVID information. They are the large signs that were at the entrance of all of our buildings, letting people know they needed to stop and do their temperature checks. So luckily, we had that project started so that when a need arose during COVID, we were able to kind of adapt and use those for that purpose. As we have deployed 5 displays in different facilities at the moment, and as the need allows, we're going to start rolling those back to the original purpose of advertising our community information and events and such. But they look really nice, and they're something that we can update remotely. So we put them out at all of our facilities, and we can remotely update them with news and information from here at City Hall. So. The Facebook ward groups, we did get to launch our official Facebook ward groups. This was a goal to launch specific hyper-localized groups for each ward so we could really target the citizens within those wards with specialized information that pertained to events and information for the specific ward. We were able to launch those groups. We haven't done a whole lot with them over the past year because the priorities shifted. So They are on our agenda to reprioritize over the next year and do a lot more with those to help connect with specific community areas throughout Douglasville. So we're going to use those ward groups to connect with citizens with hyper-localized information, possibly doing some online Q&As, some online town hall meetings to really address citizens who have needs that are really localized to their community and their ward. So we're gonna move forward with those a lot more over the next year. Our new residence guide that we were going to launch was originally going to be a web portal to help new residents who are moving to the city of Douglasville to find our city services as well as local area services that they may need as new residents. Again, with COVID, our priorities got shifted a little bit. We instead launched a couple of other portals on our website. We quickly set up our COVID-19 Information Center on the website, which had all of the information concerning COVID-19, current stats, and details for our area. Any information concerning closures and anything related to COVID-19 went on this page, so it was a one-stop place for citizens to find out anything they needed to do to find out about COVID in our area and what was going on with the city of Douglasville. So we got that up right away. The other portal we launched over the past year was the Community and Social Service Resource Center. So this portal is a culmination of all of the different resources that we could find in our community and in surrounding community to help connect citizens who had a need. There's been a lot of need over the past year, so we wanted to make it easier for citizens to connect with resources to help. So we've got listings from our local community, from the metro Atlanta area, all the way up to state agencies, help, everything from mental health services to housing and any need that we could find. A lot of it, we've got so many different organizations in our community, charitable organizations and service community organizations. We wanted to make it easy for citizens to come and find what they needed in one spot. So that's been a great thing as well. We were able to launch. So in doing that, we weren't able to get to the new residence guide this year. Again, got reprioritized, so it is on our list of projects to continue with over the next year. Just to zip through some quick performance measures and not hold you up on anything, looking at our digital media projects, our department does a lot when it comes to digital media. Now, this covers everything from newsletters. We did a lot of new newsletters this year. Those are gonna be anything from full-on print newsletters, which over the last year have been digital versions, to our email blast newsletters. We do a monthly one to our internal staff. We do a monthly one now to parks, with our Parks and Recreation Department, that goes out to a mailing list that they have generated called the Playbook. We do a weekly email blast to a mailing list, informing everyone of recent news and updates that's going on in the city. That goes out every week. We've got about 17 just various email blasts we've done throughout the year, updating the community about COVID, about help opportunities, about resources and different things as we've gone through the past year. Video projects, 142 major video projects over the past year. A lot of those were filming updates from the mayor, updates on COVID, updates on different things that we've done, just getting the more information out to the community. That also includes our regular programming, council meetings, and other video projects that we do. I want to draw special attention to the design projects section, where it's lists that we've done 290 design projects. That's up 95% from the previous year. Now, that's everything from assisting other departments with PowerPoint presentations and design elements, event artwork, city branded materials, web and social media elements. The majority of those 290 projects were all completed by our digital media designer, Haley Chapman, who's been doing an amazing job. But she does such a good job that everybody now wants new stuff. So her workload has nearly doubled over the past year. So while a lot of places kind of pulled back and a lot of work was down over the last year, our department saw an increase on all these areas, mainly just trying to help get the information out, get different materials out from the city so that we're still putting all the information out and connecting with the community as much as we possibly can and trying to make sure that the city look good as we do it. And of course, the virtual meeting support is a new thing this year. That came up a lot more this year than we had anticipated. So we did a lot of support for the virtual meetings, and we're continuing to do those. Social media audience, as people were at home, we still were able to connect through our social media pages. We saw a 32% increase in our social media audience over the past year, so that's still good. Let's see, website traffic also saw an increase. So the FY 2020 numbers of 205 and 92 sessions, there's up to 217,195 sessions. Those are individual sessions where an individual has gone to our website basically to look for something. That the number below that, we've got about roughly 153,000 unique users have hit our website over the past year. And there's a couple of lists there of the top 5 pages where people start on our website. Obviously, our home page is where they go to at first. And then the destination pages on the other side is where they basically end up. So they've come to the home page, but where they're really looking for is on the other side. The police department is a big one. Job openings is always a very big popular page on the website as well. So I zipped through all the other stuff to try to get to the community events part. So the community events has been obviously a hard thing over the past year. We know we shut down a lot of the stuff that we normally did. Our typical community events all but went away. So the key to this past year was discovering new ways to try to connect with the community, because as people were sheltered in place and stuck at home, we still wanted to find ways to continue to connect with people. We thought that was super important. So this list here is most of what we've done over the past year. A lot of it is working with our Main Street Department and our Parks and Recreation Department. Everyone has done a great job coming up with new and innovative ideas on events and activities that we can have and still connect with the community and still do it in a safe way. And like I said, the Parks and Recreation Department did a great job. The Parks to Kids Day, Wrecking a Bag, Hopping Hunter, virtual scavenger hunts. These are all things that the Parks and Recreation Department came up with to try to still connect with kids, keep them active while they were stuck at home, connect with families and promote them being active while they are at home. and a lot of these were really, really well received events. The Honkaween was a drive-through virtual Halloween event that we had over at Hunter Park, and it had an amazing turnout. There was traffic back around the corner past the school board. It was one really, really fun afternoon. The Douglasville Live Trivia is another way we've been able to connect virtually on our Facebook page with the community and kind of have some fun interaction. We've had some virtual town hall meetings. We were still able to have our drive-through recycling events. Some new events in the holiday season. Our Deck the Homes holiday decorating contest was a big success. Our virtual tree lighting and visit with Santa. We just had our first parking lot bingo event, which was a lot of fun. And we have coming up, we're in the process of producing our first 4th of July virtual Shoebox parade. We have a studio that is full of shoeboxes right now, designed by children, students, small businesses, families, everybody throughout the community. And there's some really, really amazing floats sitting in our studio right now. So we're doing some of the filming now, and that will be live on our Facebook page at 1:30 on July 4th. So that will be a fun one. So just a kind of a look at some of the innovative things that not just our department, but all the departments have come up with over the past year that we've been able to still execute some community events. So moving forward, we will start to slowly see the return of some of our more traditional large events and festivals and concerts as it's deemed safe to do so. But we're going to continue to look at, adhere to the CDC recommendations and make sure as we do bring those back, we do them in a safe way and kind of slowly build those back up. So we do have some returning events. The Farmers Market returned on May 4th. It'll run through September 28th, I believe. So that's every Tuesday, 3 o'clock, I believe they start. Food Truck Mondays was supposed to start today. It will start next week, and it will be an evening event next week. So next week it'll be dinner. We do have Flag Day, which will be on the Plaza next Monday. And that's like a 6:30 event, so you can come and enjoy the Flag Day. It's a very brief Flag Day ceremony, and then go have dinner at the food trucks. So that will be next Monday. The following week is a lunchtime, and the week after that will be dinner time again. So they're kind of going back and forth. Screen on the Greens, those are our outdoor movies that are coming back to the parks. We got 3 or 4 of those, I think, scheduled over the summer. The Fishing Derby's coming back to Hunter Park. Taste of Douglasville just happened in a modified way, and it wasn't a very successful event, and we're hoping that our Christmas parade will be back this year. On the right side there's continuing events. That previous list, we came up with all these events to try to deal with what we had to do during COVID to socially distance and be safe. But a lot of these events were super successful, super fun events that the community really enjoyed. Not just because they were COVID compliant and safe, but because they were fun events. So we'll look at a lot of those as continuing events that we'll continue to do even when we don't have to social distance anymore. So, community outreach-wise, I know we've talked about this a lot. You know, we really focused a lot on community outreach this year because it was a very important priority to still connect with the community. We talked about the COVID-19 Information Center, the Social Services Portal. We had regular updates from the Office of the Mayor. We sent out a number of targeted email blasts to our local businesses and our city service-related things to let people know what was going on and what was changing and what updates were happening in the city. So we thought it was very important to keep that open communication over the past year. We had a lot of virtual events and social media campaigns to help create that connection with the community. And we had our Take Care campaign. I know I've given a report on the Take Care campaign before. We ended up giving out over 1,000 masks, 300 yard signs, buttons, window clings, and really promote this kind of positive kind of message in the community during COVID. I think the most important thing that we can come away with, we were able to maintain a clear message. The most important thing is we were able to avoid the negativity that we were seeing in a lot of other communities. A lot of other communities that were getting bogged down with arguments over mask mandates and government overstepping and things like that. We were able to avoid that. Our community did a great job just of stepping up and helping one another, and I think that's the point of this whole campaign, was to highlight just the awesome community we have and the people in the community that basically step up and help one another and doesn't get tied down in the politics of it all. So that was a very successful campaign. Moving forward, we have a few targeted goals and objectives we'll be looking at over the next year. I talked about the new residence guide we had out there last year. We're going to try that again this year. Community events, this is going to be our big focus probably over the next year, is finding a way to bring those events back safely. So we're going to take the opportunity to look at the events we've done in the past. We're going to bring back the successful ones and the ones that were very popular. And the ones that we had been doing that maybe weren't as successful, those are the ones that we may not bring back. And then we're going to look at what new events and activities we can bring to all areas of Douglasville. So we're going into the different wards and different areas to try to figure out what events and activities we can do all over, and not just in the downtown, not just at Hunter Park. So that's another kind of goal that we've set, is to kind of spread these events and activities around the community as well. And then we're also going to be working with the city manager's office and IT to help improve our internal communications. We're going to be looking at options for an intranet for the city, looking at what that looks like, what the need is there, and how we can look at better communicating on an internal basis. So those are just a few of the projects we'll be looking at over the next fiscal year. And that, I believe, is everything.
That's a mouthful.
Any specific questions I can answer?
So we have to let it soak in, Jason. Thank you so much. And for the 4th of July, you're having the Shoebox parade. We are not having the traditional 4th of July parade, but we will have fireworks.
Yes, ma'am. We will have fireworks. They will be launched from West Pines Golf Course and viewable from all of the surrounding areas. They will shoot just after dark, whatever time that may be, just like normal. But yeah, so there will be live fireworks.
Okay. Thank you so much,
Yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
Post. We appreciate it. As we'll move on now, we're going to open the floor for citizens and delegates to come forward. You have 5 minutes to talk to us about any business or potential business that's germane to the city of Douglasville. I did want to recognize, I'm not certain if Commissioner Mitchell is still here. Oh, well, Commissioner Mitchell III was here, Henry Mitchell III, it's our district commissioner number 1, and our school board member, Mr. DeVitron Caldwell. Please stand. Stand, let the people see you, D. There you go. If you all want to come, if you want to say anything? Do you want to say anything before we start with citizens and delegates' comments? Sure. Yeah, so let's give him a hand while he comes. Thank you for your service, Mr. Caldwell. I congratulate all 5 high schools for all the things they're doing in the entire school system. Thank you for the work that you do for us to help our children to excel.
Absolutely. DeVitron Caldwell, 6636 Woodrow Avenue. So, Madam Mayor, members of council, just wanted to briefly speak regarding some of the construction that's taking place on Highway 92. And I've been in several meetings, got several calls. And so I just want to make sure that those in place that is handling the project, that's overseeing the project, just make sure that you keep the north side and the citizens on the north side at the forefront, right? And so I grew up on the north side, so I have seen for a number of years how that area has been underdeveloped, et cetera. And so I understand that the Highway 92 bypass, overall, when it's overall completed, it'll be great for Douglas County. However, there's a lot of growing pains, and I think that some of the things that we are going to have to experience, in a perfect world, would have hoped that we wouldn't have to experience those things. And so it's very frustrating.
Yeah.
Right, and so when you hear the calls, when you think about going to work, when you think about just people traveling day to day, it's a lot of things that that is going to impact everyday lives. And so in a perfect world where we know it's growing pains, we know that we have to get through that. When you've been in an area that has, for so many years, always seemed like they're the last to be thought of, et cetera, it makes it hard for people to believe that those in position are advocating just as much on the north side as they would on any other side. So I would just ask that everybody would just consider yourself in that predicament. If you lived on the north side, if you had to travel, if you worked on that area, just to make sure that where you can put input, where you can put influence, that you do that. And then overall, the citizens of Douglas County will greatly thank you. So that's all I want to say, and thank you all and appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for the call. I know it's not a question and answer, but the things that I said before about the city having laser focused and really promoting the area and bringing the area up. In addition to that, I think what this community and the city, the elected body and staff has done has really opened up for development. I know Gateway Village, which is a subdivision on the north side, the lots are sold before the homes are even built there. The Veterans Place, let me see what else I think. Just all kinds of rooftops. We've talked to Chris Humphreys from the Economic Development Authority just 2 weeks ago. He talked with Publix to see if we can get a Publix in the area, and they're still waiting for that new development. There's a rental development and some other developments to come, and as soon as we continue to get the numbers, the economics are there. We just need to have more houses. But again, Gateway Village, all the development that's coming, I'm sure that retail and restaurants will come as well as soon as that road has been released to the city. But we've been promoting and doing things to bring the area up so that it will be more successful. But again, thank you for your time, and hopefully those things, you can see that we're putting our money where our mouth is, and we are paying attention, and we will not take our hands off the wheel.
Absolutely, thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Now we'll open the floor for any other citizens. We have 5 minutes. You have 5 minutes per person to come forward and give us your name and address, please, for the record. And you should have filled out a form. Ms. Jackson, we don't have anyone online, do we? We're not doing that anymore, virtual? Okay. So if you filled out a form, please give us your name and address, Pastor, and then we'd love to hear from you.
My name is John Rogers. I live at 6330 Holborn Lane, Douglasville, Georgia, 30134.
Yes, sir.
Madam Mayor.
Good to see you, Mr.
y'all.
Rogers.
It's good to see you guys. Thank you for everything that y'all do. I'm concerned, I have different clients that are in their 80s, and 6330 Strickland Street, 6387 Strickland Street. It's directly across from the old Mosley crossing that was closed. And it's against the law for us to cross the tracks, but we need a pedestrian crossway right there, I mean, desperately. I had one of the elderly men fail on the railroad tracks crossing it, and luckily I was there and helped him up. And I said, you know what? We need to do what we can do for these people they're elderly. They're older people. And I just feel like there's a real, we got to have there's no way to cross the tracks anywhere over there for a pedestrian. And, you know, the city of Douglasville, they'll give you a warning, but if they catch you about the second or third time, they'll probably give you a ticket. The roads that need resurfacing, the Strickland Street Bridge, I was wondering when that gonna open.
Strickland Street Bridge.
Yes, ma'am. This the first bridge they put up, the very first one, and it's still not accessible. I was wondering what the critical path was for Strickland Street.
I'm city manager for Strickland Street.
Are you referring to the bridge right near, right before you get to the overpass?
It's parallel with all the other bridges, the new one they just put in, Strickland Street.
That construction is not,
Yeah, they're gonna be working on that, that work on that bridge will continue 3 to 6 more months.
Yeah, and they'll resurface it when it's complete.
Well, they've got to connect the tie-ins on the bridge to the joints. Now, I do not understand all the aspects of the construction, but I know we're October, November at the earliest of being able to access that bridge.
Okay.
Resurfacing for Ellis Street, Strickland Street, Huey Road, Malone Road, McIntosh. The trucks have beat them to pieces.
Yes.
I mean, I fixed a alignment on my wife's car already once, and on my truck has been redone as well. And it's just, they took the asphalt that was there and left some 2- and 3-inch dips, and you know, just nonchalantly, and it's been there for over about 12 to 13 months like this. And I was just wondering, you know, when they're going to address the streets, the side streets over there in that area.
all of the side streets, Mayor, we have made a list of those that Mr. Roberts is getting to the Georgia Department of Transportation, that when the construction project is done, to see about them making us whole. But they're not going to do the streets until the construction project is done.
Okay, and that's what I was going to say. And I know AECom, we do have a list of all the streets, how the streets are, you're ranked and they have the list of the streets. And so you can access that list to see where your streets are, but those ones that within this GDOT, Georgia Department of Transportation project, they're going to have to fix when they're finished with the project.
Yes, ma'am. I do want to make this one. Ellis Street is the most dangerous street in Douglas County. Ellis Street is the most dangerous street in Douglas County. Just drive it. When school buses, they come over the hill, I've had somebody almost hit me head on passing a school bus going down through there that we're supposed to be stopping for. It's horrendous. The road is horrendous. The traffic is still a big deal. And the trucks are coming down through there, and
Is there signage, Chief, on Ellis Street?
The thing over here is you're in the construction phase. And while you're in the construction phase, that's where we are. And, the city management talking to these people, see if they come through there and try to do some improvement. But, as far as traffic, we just had our traffic counter over there in that area a couple of weeks ago to slow down the traffic.
Okay, good. That's what I was going to ask, if we can have a police officer in the area.
We had the traffic count. We had officers over there writing tickets. And so we try to do that all over the city. And then, but I hear you. We'll be back over there. So don't get caught. I ain't talking about you. I'm just saying, when you're going to get over there, we're going to write some tickets.
Well, that's fine, long as it's safe. If we can put officers over there more consistently or just on a rotational basis, that we'll have some.
Yes, Councilwoman Burt Danley, she came to us last week in that same area. So we put up the tent, have the guys working all that whole area down through there, so.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
So we're aware of it, which is good.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
You're
Thank all
welcome.
of y'all, and thank you, City Manager, and everyone for everything you do. God bless you.
Thank you, Pastor Rogers. God bless you, too. Any other comments, please come forward and give us your name and address for the record. We probably need to start a line. See what happens. Ms. Dodge.
Thank you, Mayor and
to see you.
Council. This only take a minute.
Just say, please give us your name. We see a
I'm
beautiful
sorry,
face.
Faye Dobbs Carter.
Yes, ma'am.
6459 Catherine Street.
Yes, ma'am.
I wish everybody in this building right now would take that drive on the new 92. I was almost in an accident there at Hospital Drive and 92. It's confusing at that point.
Yes, ma'am.
But my real concern right now is the safety of our children that'll be going to Jesse Davis Park. there is nothing there for those kids to get across that street. That's a big concern of mine. I saw, when I took my ride, there were kids on their bikes waiting to go across. And I thought, if anything should happen to them, those are our children. And I say mine, those are our children. We got to do something, and it has to be done now until they finish, or whatever the completion date might be. They out of school, they have nothing to do. Every kid from everywhere on the north side, and others go to Jesse Davis.
Yes, ma'am.
They're gonna swim, play basketball, all of that. So that I would like to get your attention on.
Yes, ma'am.
And that it has some priority to look at that point.
Yes, ma'am, we
Okay.
will. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Ms. Pastor Lawler.
Thank you. Charles Lawler, 7926 Malone Street. How you all doing, and good evening. I really just want to echo the comments that I've heard today, specifically in regards to the safety of that area. Our church is right there at the corner of Malone Street and now the new Highway 92. And we are doing more tutorial programs for our kids. We're doing some work with the Renaissance Leadership Academy for our kids, and that crossing is extremely dangerous. Now, coming from a corporate perspective, if anything in regards to safety goes south, we stop all of our operations. We'll shut a whole building down, which is almost the equivalent of $65 to $70 million a week if we shut down a building because of safety. And that's how important it is. So the laissez-faire, I'll say political professional attitude about safety, how long it's going to take before lights, et cetera, and safety become a priority, I do understand. But the passion from Dr. Danley should be commended in terms of what this is doing for our community and for our kids. I hate to say this, but it seems like areas, specifically where I live and where our church is, those types of areas are always seen to be done, or something in terms of safety to be done last. And that has to stop. And I'm so grateful for the citizens that are here today, as well as those that are here on this council that have that same passion for our kids that I have, and I hope you share the same. Because it's too late if a child gets hurt. It's too late if an adult gets hurt. And my last comment in terms of the economic infrastructure of the area is very important, because if we want Publix and that type of infrastructure and economy to come to that area, we have to make sure we take care of it. I know the landscaping's coming. Hopefully the lighting will be there sooner than later. But I'm not concerned about the individuals. The gentleman was talking about our kids. We've all been kids before of our community. What about the kids that are outside of this community, or adults who just want to cause problems, and graffiti happens in that underpass? Things of that nature will not be good for our community.
Right.
They just won't. So we have to have some forward thinking. If it was if it were poor planning at the GDOT level, or a third-party Marine come out, I'm sorry, or a third-party contractor, it's still a problem.
Yes, sir.
And that's a problem that we have to have the safeguards to keep, whether it's community leaders, citizens, or even elected officials. So someone and something has to be held accountable. So my hope is that this can be a clarion call, and many others would come and speak on this same issue. So it's more than just a political posture or a stance or a laissez-faire attitude. We actually take passion, because if it's your child, you'll be just as passionate as we are. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Pastor Lawler. We definitely have your comments in consideration.
Amen. Taurus Madrick Morris. My husband and I own Douglasville Boxing Club, 8757 South Flat Rock Road. The concern, I'm glad I was able to hear a lot of what was going on with the project. I'm very excited about the project, so thank you all for the hard work in concerning that. The issue that I have that hadn't been touched on is when you close Campbellton Street, and now you're talking about closing McCarley, you're pushing traffic down to the west side towards
Rose Avenue.
Through Rose Avenue, which Rose Avenue, you have to cross the tracks to get to our business on Strickland Street. And so Rose Avenue, you can't cross that because you can't make a left turn, and then you push it down further. And so even if you miss that one, if you're coming Highway 5 and still, we only have 2 opportunities for people to cross that crossing. As of late, it's getting busier and busier. Like traffic is back down South Flat Rock going towards Cedar Mountain. And so when you're looking at closing, I just don't want you all to close too soon. I need to know what the plan is, because you're really, it's going to be causing problems for my business. Like when we have problems with that railroad track, we have customers already calling saying they'll come tomorrow or another day because they can't cross the tracks. And so now I feel like we're limiting the opportunity with them being able to cross the tracks. And I just really need to know what the plan is so that we're not affected negatively or highly impacted with the closes and the changes. Yes, with that being said, being that we already backed up, I feel like that Highway 5, going towards Highway 5, that first turn that you can make, the one closest to that. If you're coming from the west or Highway 5 or coming from Bright Star, that area is already backed up and it's hard to cross. So getting people across that tracks in that area, if you're going to close Campbellton and McCarley, and like I said, you're pushing traffic to bottleneck to come across the tracks towards our way. So I'm just concerned about the planning of that. And then as mentioned, I've drove the underpath. I'm very excited about the underpath, but the lighting. And I know you all mentioned budgeting, but you really can't put a cost on life. So definitely take that in consideration, and I just want my concern put out there. And that's all I had to say about that.
Okay, so we did cover most of those issues. The likes for us is not a budgetary concern for the city of Douglasville. It's a state project, state and federal project. So we're working with them to help them to understand our concerns. So whatever we can do, we're going to do in the process, but it's them and Georgia Power. So it's really out of the city's hands. We're still having influence, but we really can't directly do that. And Campbellton Street is slated to be closed July the 15th. McCarley in the interim is going to be worked on so that hopefully when Campbellton Street closes, McCarley will open. So the construction is going to, hopefully that will be the process that happens. Is that correct, City Manager?
Temporarily though, right?
Temporarily for which crossing?
McCarley is going to be open just for the residential and business district, but not for through traffic.
No, we're upgrading that entire crossing. So permanently, that'll be a signalized crossing once it's complete.
And once it's complete, they'll be able to make a left down to Strickland?
They'll left, right,
Left
it'll
and
be a
right.
signal. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. And then as far as that, is that going to open up the traffic with the problem with that crossover closer towards Highway 5 and that Calvary Church of God is where it intersects? Is that going to clear any type of traffic, or is it still going to direct people closer towards that west end?
I think if you're headed toward the west, you're still going to deal with that issue. I think for those who are commercing in central Douglasville, downtown Douglasville, Fairburn Road, it gives you an opportunity to have a crossing here in town. I don't think that there's going to be a major impact, good, bad, or indifferent for where you are, because those in the west are traveling to the west, so they would not be crossing McCarley Street unless they decided that that's what they wanted to do.
Well, that's good, but I guess my concern is traffic is already backing up down South Flat Rock Road for people that's trying to come across either side of that crossing. Is there a plan in place to try to free some of that traffic? Or are we just looking, because it's just getting busier and busier. And I know for me to even travel just that quarter of a mile coming from Cedar Mountain on the South Flat Rock, I'm waiting like a good 10 minutes or so. It's like constantly building, and I already foresee what's going to happen. It's going to continue to get busier and busier. Is there a plan for that side?
There is not a city plan. What I can do, Mayor, is get with the county administrator to see if there's anything going on with Douglas County. But that would have to involve both the city and the county to deal with traffic mitigation issues on that side.
And that's,
so that's
again,
out of our
crossing that track.
jurisdiction. That's out of the city's jurisdiction in the area that you're speaking about.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I was just wondering about that South Flat Rock traffic. As bad as it is now, a lot of that is trying to avoid crossing at Campbellton, and Campbellton's going to go away. And a lot of those folks, I don't know this, but a lot of those folks that aren't local are hitting the bypass. I mean, that's...
It's going to alleviate.
I mean, I don't know.
A lot of bottleneck.
I guess until it's all said and done, but I've done that myself, taking South Flat Rock to avoid crossing at Campbellton, but...
So now they go under the underpass.
Yeah. And one of the things that will probably address specifically that Paulding County traffic is that, there is an additional phase to Paulding County that will connect the north end of Douglas County to Paulding County, and eventually build Caruth Parkway. So it'll take some time, but over time, that Paulding County traffic that's causing issue there where you're referring to will be on the new route because they won't have to. They'll have a direct connect to I-20.
Thank you all.
You're welcome. Thank you. Is the microphone low enough? Sam, we have a microphone for you. Good to see you again. Come across so I can see your beautiful face.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm here to speak
Give us your
on-
name and address.
Oh,
sweet name.
sorry. I'm Jasmine Moore. I live at 7210 Brittany Way, which is on the north side, close to Jesse Davis Park. And I'm here to discuss two topics. The first one is the bypass on 92. And it looks beautiful. However, you know, we were driving it yesterday, and we kind of noticed some where the pedestrian crossings are. The buttons to press are down lower. However, all of them were not front facing the street. And so if we were needing to press the button and it was on the right side, the left side, or behind, then we would have to get in the grass to even get to that button to press it. And so that's kind of a safety concern because, you know, let's say if it had rained and the grass is muddy, and then we would be stuck there, or potentially, you know, be stuck there. And so that was just one of the concerns that, you know, we had as we were driving down that bypass yesterday. And another situation that occurred about a few months ago, I was at a restaurant on Douglas Boulevard. I just wanted to run in for lunch and run back out. And in that parking area, there's only one accessible parking spot. And if you park in front of it, it's parking in front of the ramp. And so someone was actually parked there, so I had to park into another parking spot that wasn't an accessible one. Where I come out about 5 minutes later, there's a car parked beside me on the side that my ramp comes out. So I couldn't get into my car and get back to work for about 45 minutes.
Oh, no.
And so I called every establishment on that strip, and no one knew whose car it belonged to. So luckily, one of my coworkers was coming out of the restaurant as well, and he backed my car out for me. And I was able to get in and then get, you know, to work. And so I just want to advocate for, you know, the citizens in Douglas County who have diverse abilities, who I understand that if it doesn't happen to people, it's not on the forefront of their mind. And so I know if it happens to me, it could happen to any other person in our community. And so I just want to advocate for more accessible parking spots around Douglas County, around our establishments, restaurants, schools. And, you know, some people park there that don't need it, but that's another conversation for another day. But I'm just here to advocate on behalf of, you know, our community members who, you know, probably don't feel comfortable getting up and speaking about this, but it is an issue that needs to be resolved because it really does make a difference in our lives, you know, if it applies to us. And so that's why I'm here tonight, to figure out what can be done to make that happen, to get more accessible parking spots around the, you know, city of Douglasville and Douglas County in general.
Yes, ma'am. All right, Miss Jasmine, where the poles, the pedestrian poles at Mr. Roberts, did you hear her concern about the buttons and where they were situated, so we can bring that to the attention of, is Georgia Power? No, that would be GDOT. Or GDOT, okay.
I got it.
You got it, Ms. Hampton? And I don't want you to, this is not right terminology, throw shade on the restaurant or business, but if you can tell Mr. Roberts where it was on Douglas Boulevard, so that we'll be able to address it and look at it with code enforcement. And I don't know if we have a task. I know you're at the courthouse, but if there's something, city manager or Ms. Jackson, for a diverse community, as Ms. Jasmine has said, do we have like the bicycle pedestrian team? Do we have a?
We actually have an ADA accessibility plan that you all just adopted about 6 months ago. So part of that plan includes several $1 million in upgrades throughout the city. We were not able to put any capital improvement plans toward that in this fiscal year's budget because, as you know, due to COVID, we've had to plug in about $1 million of our fund balance into budget, and you all decided not to raise the millage. So therefore, our capital projects are basically projects related to public safety or transportation, related to resurfacing. So if that's something that you all want us to look at, we'll pull
Definitely.
together the projects, but you're talking about for probably to start, you're probably looking at about $500,000.
Okay, Ms. Jasmine, do you mind volunteering can we have her serve on a team or a task force to help us?
If she would like to give me a list, I mean, we already
Okay.
have, I can even share the document with you, and you can point out, which areas, AECom performed that, as you know, because those have to be ADA compliant as well.
And then to speak on what you said about, being ADA compliant, there are certain guidelines that you have to abide by, but they aren't always followed through. So there have been buildings where, there's a button, but it doesn't work.
Right.
Or I know at the courthouse for sure, you press one button, but it doesn't apply to both sets of doors. And so it's things like that where, like, if it's raining,
Yeah.
situation, and I gotta try to press the button and then it may not work, or it may be slow, or, things like that. So, yes, a building is ADA, appropriate, but it really may not be for an individual need. And so it's more than just being on paper, it's actually following through, with those guidelines that are put into place.
Yes, ma'am.
The
So we'll ask you to help us. Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, the Americans with Disabilities Act was passed over 30 years ago, or almost 30 years ago. And one of the weaknesses with it was that it allows a lot of grandfathering of certain buildings and public structures. So unfortunately, you have to bear with, there's no reason you should have to, but you have to bear with a lot of communities as they try to update the older buildings. And you're just going to encounter that, unfortunately, in a lot of places. But as the city manager pointed out, the city of Douglasville does have a plan in place to try to bring up as much of our existing infrastructure. Obviously, that any new building has to comply entirely with Americans with Disabilities Act, but the challenge is getting the old, and we have a rather old infrastructure in this community, and a lot of older buildings, and so getting into a place like Fabiano's, Gumbo's, and all the older retail places, it can be a little challenging at times. And unfortunately, we have a lot of good people, like you pointed out, who come along and help you at the right times. But you shouldn't have to rely on that. You should be able to rely on your own faculties to be able to do certain things like that. So we are trying to bring it to everyone's attention.
Yes, sir. Chief Sparks?
Ma'am, just call 911. That's all you have to do. If someone is blocking your parking spot where your ramp come down, that's a violation.
We've done that before, and we were told that there's a ramp down there if y'all want to go that way.
Well, you call 911. We'll take care of the rest.
Well, thank you so much, and we'll make the document available to you, City Manager. We'll make the document available to you, Ms. Jasmine.
And I don't mind if being advisor or anything, if y'all need me for anything, I'm available. Y'all know how to reach me. So.
Thank you. I know you put that master's degree to work. Thank you. Tell Ms. Jessica and your family we said hello.
Thank you. Thank y'all for giving me the opportunity.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Ms. Hampton, I'd like to add, just from what Ms. Morris stated, she mentioned GDOT, and I know that Ms. Hampton will get with you in regards to that. But speaking of just the connectivity, is the sidewalk that's on Strickland Street, there's a disconnection, I want to say where Pastor Rogers, the homes right in front of there, there's a sidewalk, but there's a disconnection that doesn't flow. So if you have an elderly there, I could see where that would be a hazard. Just like it looks like it just needs to be completed a little bit.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, Ms. Stanley, I don't think any of those sidewalks are up to code. They're currently not ADA compliant,
Right.
so that area will have to be completely redone. If you remember on the route, we did take that
Yes,
drive.
ma'am.
So that's another part of the list of streets that when we
Gotcha.
get with GDOT, that will have to be made whole
Right.
because it is not up to compliance.
Okay. And also, as it relates to dollars and cents, I know that in the meeting, Congressman Scott spoke about some money that could go towards some projects. I'm not sure, but taking advantage of that would be great.
Yes, ma'am.
In America's Rescue Act. Do we have any other citizens that want to come forward? Yes, ma'am. Good to see you. Said, don't take my place. Give us your name and address for the record, please.
Either Mayor. My name is Pearlie Glover. I reside at 6184 Stanley Drive in Douglas County. My question is, I happen to reside in Douglas County. I've heard a lot of discussion and a lot of talk about Douglas, the city of Douglasville. And with the new highway, some of the things that's going to be happening with the lighting, with the lights and all of that. But because I reside in the county, nothing is happening. Now, my subdivision is right off of 92, which is Providence Walk.
Okay, I know where it is.
Now, and going south on 92, it requires a left turn. I don't know if that's going to be a left turn implemented off of the highway when it's completed. And during the construction of the new highway, they disturbed our entrance. So I don't know if it's going to be replaced back because it's all messed up now. And also, I was hoping that we would have had a sound barrier because at the entrance of our subdivision is the pool. And of course, this year we would be opening the pool and it would be it's a safety hazard right now because there has been accidents with cars going north. And a car did run off the highway onto the grass area right at the entrance of our subdivision. So I don't know who I need to speak to regarding these issues.
Yes, ma'am. Well, Georgia Department of Transportation has the project, and we can probably address some of the issues or concerns that you have by answering your questions. But we had our representative, Henry Mitchell III, is your commissioner for the county, and he and Dr. Ramona Jackson-Jones, the chair, anyone on the commission, we work very well together, and they'll be more than happy to answer those concerns about what they propose in the future. City Manager, do you have anything to add for Georgia Department of Transportation?
Unfortunately, if it's not related to the city of Douglasville, my attention has not been on Douglas County's portion of the project, I'll be honest. But what I can do is if you signed a card, I'll get your information over to the county administrator and she can get you that information. I am aware of some of the things that were happening along that area, but to be quite honest, I have not kept up and I would not want to give you the wrong information and it's not as to what's up to date as to what's current. But I will make certain that you get the information this week.
We're happy you came to see us today, and the county's doing a lot too. They just probably have to go and celebrate Douglas County and see all the great things they're doing.
Thank you.
Ma'am. You're welcome. Any other citizens? Good to see you, Ms. Shea.
Good to see you, Mayor and Council. Shay Johnson, 5481 Summer Mill Road. Just wanted to address the bypass as well. Just keep it really brief. There was very poor communication from GDOT as far as when it was going to open up and the lane changes and things of that nature. So being a resident and a homeowner in the area, it was very confusing. And
I apologize.
it's just confusing. So if it's confusing for me at my age, just think of all of the elderly residents that live in the area that is just as confusing for them. So it needs to be definitely very more communication just across the board.
Yes, ma'am.
Even if it's via email to say that this is what's going on, because it's like we just drove out there. It's like, oh wow, the road is open.
Ma'am.
So there was very little communication or even notice before time, because I'm always in the area. And then the other thing, just wanted to piggyback on Ms. Jasmine's comments. You don't understand until you understand. If you remember last month, I came in here and I had a patch over my eye, and that was after emergency eye surgery. So that's why I had that patch on my eye. So when she said that, my heart just reached out to her because it's like I didn't realize how much I would be affected just that temporary time not being able to have the access to my left eye. And still, it's dilated, and I haven't used drops in a month, so it's still dilated right now. So you don't understand until you understand. So her coming out and speaking out and advocating for other persons with disabilities, I really, really felt that. And I hope that those concerns of hers will be heard,
Yes, ma'am.
not just with the city, but also passed on to the county. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, Ms. Shea. We apologize for the inconvenience with the roads. Mr. Penniman?
Hello, City Council, Madam Mayor. My name is Brandon Penniman. I reside at 1082 Abington Court, Douglasville, Georgia. Today, I just came to speak into what's already been spoken into, so I will be brief. But first off, in regards to the closing of Campbellton, understanding that it's probably going to take more than 30 days to really make that transition or to get McCarley, is that correct? McCarley Street, the McCarley opening done. My simple ask for you guys is that you use your political will to try to get that date pushed back from July 15th. Because I know you said that that's a hard date for Norfolk Southern, and I get it, but I just want to challenge you guys to use your political will to get a hold to Congressman Scott, to use his political will to be able to ask them to push that date back to ensure that both of those aren't closed down at the same time.
Yes,
That's the biggest concern, I think, of everybody, is that if those are closed down at the same time, it's going to be really bad. So from my personal opinion and from my professional stance as a planning and zoning board member, I just request that you guys please use your political will to try to get that date pushed back from July 15th. We were already able to push it back from June 2nd to June 15th, and then they pushed it back from June 15th to July 15th. So
we've been pushing.
Right, the
but
date
we gonna
can
keep
be
pushing.
pushed, exactly. So I'm just requesting that you guys use as much political will as you have to be able to try to get that date pushed back as far as possible to ensure that the McCarley opening is finished prior to Campbellton closing.
Yes.
And I do understand the truck issue and the fact that it is a huge safety precaution. But yeah, I just request that you guys work to get that date pushed back as much as possible.
Yes, sir.
And then last thing, I know that that they really wanted to push for that May 27th date to get the underpass open. But once again, in my personal opinion and my professional opinion, I feel like to meet a date was kind of premature because they opened up the underpass, but there's so many other things that were not addressed in the midst of just trying to meet the date of opening the underpass. And for the safety of our community, I feel like it would have been better to push back the date of opening the underpass and wait till we figure out all the safety precautions, make sure we fully let people know that there's going to be a big change and all of those things instead of focusing on just trying to make a date. Because we've been waiting this long at this point, let's do it right all the way to the end. So that's my comments and concerns, and I just really appreciate you guys for all that you do. We've been up here for hours, so I understand how these meetings go, and I really appreciate you guys.
Thank you so much, Mr. Penniman. Do we have any other comments?
How you doing? My name is Harold Chisholm, 6425 East Strickland Street, Douglasville, Georgia. I just wanted to commend the commissioner, the chief of police, because he has did a great job with putting police officers on Strickland, even with the signs and the electronic speedometers over there. It's a wonderful thing to know that my kids won't get hit by a car when they're speeding down Strickland, okay? I'm a father of 4 children. My kid walks from Douglas County High School to the house during the school years.
Yes, sir.
So Campbellton is kind of weird for me because he crosses over that to get to the house. So as soon as we get all that stuff situated, it'll be a great experience, and our kids will be a lot more safer. I will say this, do we have a date for the speeding signs for Strickland Street? Because I think once we be able to implement the actual speed requirements, then we will have something to abide by.
Yes,
Because right now, it's good to see the cops there, but I don't know if they know what the speed limit is. Because at this point, at night, it seems like a racetrack.
All right, thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chisholm. Chief, do we have signs up? We don't have any signs on Strickland?
We don't have any signs, but one of the things that's going to be as a result of this project that'll happen probably within the next 3 weeks is that intersection right at Hamilton, where you currently have the median, where you basically it's on a right turn in. That's all going to change to reconfigure to allow for traffic to go right and left once the crossing is closed. So I would make a suggestion that as we work through what's going to happen, let's put the speed limit signs and set the speed limits based on that, and allow the police department to continue to do their mitigation efforts in the meantime. And then when the dust settles, then we can put an appropriate speed limit on the street after you all get some recommendations from the chief.
And just to be clear, is there a traffic light going on Campbellton and Strickland?
We'll be at McCarley and Strickland.
Okay, so once that that is closed off, there's a roundabout right by the park or right there, right? What's going to happen with that?
Mitchell Appliance, you know where Mitchell Appliance is?
Right, but I guess what I'm talking about specifically is, you know where the park that Norfolk Southern owns?
Wortham Park.
Right, so right there, normally you will have to take a
Turn
right.
right.
Since that's going to be closed, is that going to disappear and we'll be able to go straight down that street?
That is correct.
Okay. All right, and that's going to be with a stoplight, or is that going to be a stop sign? Like, what's the plan with that?
I'm going to tell you three-way stop signs, but I'll have to look back at the GDOT plans. That's still a GDOT right of way.
Okay.
That's part of what they'll work on with that project there.
Okay. So long as we got a plan with that, I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
I like I said, I'm a dad. I'm walking my son to that park every day. He's 2 years old, right? So I don't want to be in a situation where incidents happen. Just like the gentleman said earlier, it's too late when the incident happens, right? So we don't want that to happen. So thank you for your time, and hopefully we can get all this done. And Chief, you're doing a great job, man.
Thank you. Ms. Hampton, do we have the Highway 92 bypass? Do we have that online for citizens to look at?
Georgia Department of Transportation has a website where they maintain all project updates.
So that would probably be good for citizens to go to, or maybe we can put a link on our city's website.
It's there.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. If you if you look up projects, there's a link that says Highway 92. And I know Nathan's
Mr.
back there.
Chisholm.
He'll correct me if I'm wrong. But there's a link that says Highway 92, and they can go directly to the Georgia Department of Transportation's website for the project.
Did you hear that, Mr. Chisholm?
If you go to the city's website and you look up projects, Highway 92 is one of the projects. If you click on that, you'll also see a link that takes you directly to the Georgia Department of Transportation's website for this project. They specifically have a website for this project.
Ms. Mitchell?
Hello. Hi,
Good
Noe Mitchell, 7755 Mountain Creek Way, Douglasville, 30134.
Yes, ma'am.
I am here as others in reference to the 92 project, and I really appreciate Dr. Burdanley for her tireless efforts in trying to make sure that we are treated right on the north side.
Yes,
and I also appreciate you, Marcia, for answering a lot of questions that were in my email. I don't know how many had the opportunity to read my email. Are you ready to stand?
I know, we read them, we all read it.
Awesome. And I want to say also that I appreciate the council, it's 2021, commitment to the north side, because we've not always had that commitment. Because in the last 2, 3, 4 years, we've had to deal with, fighting trucks, going through our parks where our kids play every day.
Yes.
We've had to deal with the rock quarry.
Yes.
We've had to shaking houses, damaging houses. We had to deal with that. And so we did not feel on the north side that the city of Douglasville leadership was behind us. So I'm glad to hear now that you are behind us on the north side, because we have taken a lot of hits on the north side. And I know that you also received my son's email Henry Mitchell IV. Although he sounds angry, he's in a lot of pain because he knows and he's experienced where, like a stepchild, that's the way he's felt. That's the way the conversations have gone. And so at his age and at my age, we, take it in a little differently these days. So he feels like first there was, of course, not a lot of accountability, not a lot of trust from the leadership that we're going to do this or we're going to do that. But there was not a lot of trust, not a lot of accountability. And also with, I think it's CJ, is it CJ Matthews?
CW Matthews.
CW Matthews. I mean, you can let them know, number one, that we have value on the north side. We have value. We are fearfully and wonderfully made. And that God is not pleased, as I indicated in my email as well. God is not pleased. And, of course, that song from Sam Cooke, that it's been a long time coming, and a change, a change is going to come. And also with it's like an injustice, like Martin Luther King said, injustice anywhere is a threat to injustice everywhere. And so if we're not treated right, eventually that's going to have a trickle effect in one way or the other. Whether that's crime, whether that's something else, it's going to have a trickle effect. So I appreciate the commitment. Thank you, my council members, council representatives. Thank you for responding to me. I appreciate that. I appreciate it. Okay? Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Very
You're
much.
welcome. Any other comment? Oh,
I'm sorry.
that's okay.
And also, would you, I didn't have Congressman Scott or the two senators from Georgia. I don't know if they can also get a copy of my email as well, because I know you all probably have access to them. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other comments from citizens? Okay. Any other topic? Yes, sir.
I think that, her point's well taken. While each of us is elected to represent a particular ward, I'd like to think that all of us also do like to think that we represent the city as a whole as well. And I think we all, each and every member up here does feel that way strongly, that we would like to see what's best for the city in its entirety, not just for particular neighborhoods.
That's right.
Her
And that's why I
comments are
said
well taken.
all those things that I listed that we've been doing for the past 4 or 5 years. We've been really focused on bringing things whole in the entire community, but that is specifically for the north side, those issues that I listed.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I just want to thank all the communities for coming out this afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
And don't be a stranger, come out again. Just to say hello and be a part of it and help us make sound decisions. Because if you don't, warehouses will be in your back door. You just have to come out and just help us. Thank you.
That's true, Councilman Davis. Any other comments from the elected body?
Madam Mayor,
Yes, sir, Councilman Watts.
I just wanted to echo something that Councilman Davis said, and this is what is so great about small government. You don't have this kind of access sometimes at higher levels, and I just appreciate citizens coming forward and speaking their mind and telling us what they feel. I mean, hearing from y'all, and like Councilman Davis said, it's great to have folks in the room. Sometimes we have 7 people sitting out there and the meeting goes through and we adjourn and we go home. But I just appreciate hearing from our citizens. So thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you. Any other comments? Everyone else has already said it, but thank you all so much for coming this evening. We thank the staff. If we don't have any other business, then this meeting is adjourned.